Chapter 1195. Seeing that Blue Phoenix was asking for his advice, Ouyang Feng explained, "The more poisonous the poison, the better it is. The key lies in the degree. Different purposes have different effects. My strange snake's poison is definitely not inferior to your golden silkworm goo's poison. However, it's meaningless to just poison a few people to death. It's better to reduce the toxicity and make these people go crazy from the poison, but not die immediately. Then they will help me spread the poison to their companions and naturally achieve the goal of wiping them all out." Zhou, who was at the side, asked curiously, "It is just a drop of snake poison, and it has been diluted so many times. How can it kill so many people?" Ouyang Feng laughed. "My poison has a special characteristic. Once it comes into contact with blood, it can turn all the blood into a new poison. An adult man would have at least 7 to 8 kilograms of blood. That would be 7 to 8 kilograms of poison. When new people are poisoned, there will be an additional 7 to 8 kilograms of poison. How can it not be enough?" Song Qing-shu sighed and said, "This is the legendary 10,000 poison stream." He was secretly glad that Ouyang Feng did not live in the modern era. Otherwise, with the help of technology and his understanding of poison, he could easily create the zombie virus in the sci-fi movies. Indigo Phoenix was in awe as well. "Senior, your poisoning technique is really exquisite." Ouyang Feng seemed to have thought of something and sighed. Actually, this was also an inspiration from an old matter. He didn't finish his sentence. Everyone seemed to see something sparkling in his eyes, and they couldn't help but be stunned. This was not the first time Ouyang Feng used the 10,000 poison stream. Back then, he brought Ouyang Ku to Peach Blossom Island to ask for her hand in marriage. In the end, they returned in defeat. On the way back, they saved Zhou Badong, Guijing, and Hong Qigong, who were trapped in a school of sharks. They used this method to kill all the sharks in the sea. It was a pity that it was easy to poison a school of sharks, but difficult to poison a group of people. After all, humans were not like sharks who would eat their injured companions. However, later on in the Iron Spear Temple, the truth of Ouyang Ku's death was revealed. In order to silence her, Yang Kong struck Huang Rong with his palm, but was stabbed by the soft hedgehog armor on her body. What was even more coincidental was that one of the 7 freaks of Jiangnan, Nan Shiren, had also struck Huang Rong with his palm after being poisoned by the snake, so the soft hedgehog armor was contaminated with the snake's poison. After several cycles of circulation, the toxicity of the snake's venom had been greatly reduced, so Yang Kong did not die immediately. However, he became crazy. Sha Tong Tian, who was beside him, tried to calm him down, but Yang Kong scratched his arm. If Peng Lianhu had not decisively cut off his arm, Sha Tong Tian would have died from the poison. That incident was related to Ouyang Ku's death, and Ouyang Feng did not want to recall it. However, it gave him some inspiration and allowed him to improve the method of using the 10,000 poison stream. From now on, he could not only poison sharks, but also kill people on a large scale. By this time, the screams outside had gradually subsided. When everyone looked up, they found that there were only a few people left standing. Song Qingshu's figure flashed. When he returned, he had already captured a survivor. Coincidentally, the last survivor was the leader of the cavalry. "Who sent you?" Song Qingshu did not want to talk nonsense with him and directly used the soul transfer technique. The man's mind had already been destroyed by the hellish scene outside, and his soul was easily moved. Lord Left Prime Minister. Machi Ruo? Song Qingshu was startled. How dare he do this? The current Prime Minister had openly sent troops to kill the son of the Privy Emissary. Once it was exposed, it would definitely cause an uproar in the court. Fortunately, the leader of the cavalry seemed to be Machi Ruo's trusted aide and knew a lot of things. From his words, Song Qingshu had a rough idea of what had happened. This cavalry's mission was not only to kill Jia Baiyu, but also to kill the Mongolian emissary and his entourage. It turned out that because Song Qingshu had suddenly resurrected, Machi Ruo realized that everything he had planned could go down the drain. After that, Li Yuanji's loss of chastity made things worse. Machi Ruo knew that everything was over. He even dreamed that he would be abandoned by Zhao Go without hesitation. Having been in the political arena for decades, Machi Ruo had a wealth of experience and keen intuition. He knew that it would not be long before he would be removed from his position as prime minister. When he thought about how he had offended so many people, especially Song Qing-shu, he knew that once he was removed from his position, he would be doomed eternally. After thinking about it, Machi Ruo decided to stake everything on one throw. He sent his trusted aide to lead the troops to kill the Mongolian emissary and his entourage and kill Zhao Baoyu. As long as no one was left alive, no one would know that he had done it. The Mongolians valued envoys the most. Back then, the powerful Khwarezm had only executed a few ordinary Mongolian envoys, and the Mongolians had already destroyed the country in retaliation. Moreover, the one who had died this time was a noble princess. The Mongolians would definitely start a war with the Southern Song dynasty. Naturally, there would be no mention of returning Sichuan. Then, Li Keqiu's Jianghuai would become unprecedentedly important. During this period of time, the debate in the court about whether to take Sichuan or Jianghuai would disappear. Jia Sherdao would vent his anger on the Mongolians because of the pain of losing his son and support the war with the Mongolians. In this way, the alliance between Machi Ruo and Li Keqiu would become the most powerful alliance in the entire Southern Song dynasty. Of course, he also knew that there was no such thing as an impenetrable wall in the world. This matter would eventually be discovered, but so what? By that time, the Southern Song dynasty would be at war with the Mongolians. The truth would no longer be important. Song Qing-shu was speechless. No wonder Machi Ruo and Qin Hui would be infamous for thousands of years in history. They were indeed extremely vicious. For their own selfish desires, they tried to tie the fate of the entire Southern Song dynasty to him, regardless of how many lives would be lost and how many people would die. Seeing that he couldn't get any more information, Song Qing-shu broke the man's meridian with a palm. The man's filthy thoughts towards Zhou Zhuruo and the Indigo Phoenix had already provoked his killing intent. Moreover, he was willing to be Machi Ruo's lackey. His death was not to be regretted. Ouyang Feng sighed. I thought that the Western poison was vicious enough. However, compared to these nobles in the court, I'm really ashamed. Song Qing-shu snorted coldly. After I'm done with the Golden Snake Camp, I'll definitely kill this bastard when I return to Linen. Otherwise, the people of the world will be tormented by him in the future. Ouyang Feng smiled. I heard from Chong Jie that the Golden Snake Camp and Li Keqiu's army are in a stalemate. Are you going to help? Chong Jie? Hearing that there was another woman, Zhou Zhuo frowned slightly and glanced at Song Qing-shu. Song Qing-shu pretended that he didn't see it. Why didn't she come with you? Ouyang Feng answered. That girl was seriously injured. She was worried that she would be a burden if she came, so she decided to recuperate in Linen. She asked me to come and help you. Song Qing-shu's heart warmed. That girl was usually a little demon girl who was not afraid of anything. He didn't expect her to be so considerate at such a critical moment. Do you want me to go north with you? With the help of my poisonous stream, it'll be easy for you to defeat Li Keqiu's army. Ouyang Feng's tone was slightly domineering. Song Qing-shu shook his head and said, Chong Jie is injured. I don't feel at ease leaving her alone in Linen. It's better for you to escort her back to the Jin Kingdom. What a joke. He didn't just want to solve the Golden Snake Camp siege. He also wanted to take the opportunity to conquer Li Keqiu's territory. If Ouyang Feng went up and created a purgatory on the battlefield, wouldn't he form a blood feud with the people of Lianhuai? Years ago, when Xiangyu was pacifying the land of Qi, he burned, killed, and looted too much, causing the people of Qi to rebel. As a result, Xiangyu had to return several times to quell the rebellion during the crucial period of the struggle between Chu and Han, giving Liu Bang a chance to catch his breath. At the same time, he watched Han Xian sweep across the north. Song Qing-shu didn't think he was better than Xiangyu in war. Xiangyu couldn't completely quell the rebellion in Qi. If he formed a blood feud with the people of Lianhuai, he might never be able to conquer Lianhuai. Moreover, Song Qing-shu was more worried that using the poisonous stream would tarnish his reputation. Reputation was something that couldn't be seen or touched, but once it was tarnished, he would be hindered by all parties. For example, Wu sang, "All right." Ouyang Feng nodded. He also felt sorry for Wanyan Chongjia. He treated her like his granddaughter and was worried about her being alone. With such a big commotion here, it won't be long before someone comes to investigate. Let's leave this place first. Zhou Zhuo's expression turned ugly when she smelled the blood in the air. Then I'll return to Lin and first. After Ouyang Feng said goodbye to everyone, he used his lightness skill and disappeared into the distance. Wester Poison's 1,000 miles in a breath is indeed extraordinary. Zhou couldn't help but praise Ouyang Feng as he disappeared. Song Qingshu laughed and said, "Your husband's lightness skill is even better." Zhou Zhuo stole a glance at Indigo Phoenix and couldn't help but spit. "You're shameless." Indigo Phoenix laughed and said, "You and your husband are so affectionate. I'm so envious of you." Zhou Zhuo blushed. "Sister Lan, you're making fun of me too." The three of them joked around and started their journey up north. After half a day, the sky started to darken. Suddenly, there was a rumble of thunder. Looking at the rolling dark clouds in the sky, Indigo Phoenix said, "Master, it's going to rain soon. Let's find a place to hide before we continue our journey." "That's good." Song Qingshu nodded, and the three of them started to look for a place to hide. Very soon, the rain started to pour. The two ladies exclaimed. Song Qingshu's sharp eyes saw a roof not far away. "There's an old temple over there. Let's go and hide." As soon as he finished speaking, he carried one of them and rushed over. Indigo Phoenix could only feel the wind beside her ear. When she came to her senses, the three of them were already at the entrance of the temple. She wasn't like other ladies who would blush or have a heartbeat after being hugged. Instead, she laughed and said, "Sister Zhou, your husband's lightness skill is indeed better than Senior Ouyang's." Chapter 1196. Seeing his dignified expression, the two women also quieted down and listened carefully. Zhou Zhuo's practice of the Nining manual had reached a small success, and her internal energy had also advanced by leaps and bounds. Unfortunately, the sound of the rain outside was too loud, so she could only faintly hear the sound of breathing inside. As for how many people were inside, or even if there was no one inside, she was not very sure. Heavenly Novel 2 Indigo Phoenix was even worse. Her kung fu was not strong enough. She pricked up her ears and listened for a long time. Other than the sound of the rain, she could not hear anything else. Even though the two ladies were not clear about the situation inside, they knew that it was not easy for Song Qingshu to call a top-notch master. Zhou looked worried. "I don't know if the people inside are friends or foes. Why don't we go somewhere else to avoid any conflict?" The two ladies blushed. Their dresses were wet. If it wasn't for Song Qingshu's qigong that brought them here quickly, their dresses would have been stuck to their skin. The two ladies were martial artists. They did not need to worry about catching a cold. What they were most worried about was exposing themselves. Although Indigo Phoenix was cheerful and bold, Song Qingshu was not her lover. How could she show her naked body to him? On the other hand, Zhou Zhuo was shy and quiet. Naturally, she did not want to be embarrassed. Both of them were from the martial arts world, so they did not have to worry about catching a cold. What they were most worried about was exposing their bodies. Although Indigo Phoenix was cheerful and bold, Song Qingshu was not her lover after all. How could she show her naked body to him? Zhou Zhuo was quiet and shy. Naturally, she did not want to embarrass herself. Seeing the two women in a sorry state, Song Qingshu smiled and said, "Don't worry. With me around, even if it's a dragon's pool or a tiger's den, we can still go." Zhou Zhuo and Indigo Phoenix then came to their senses. With Song Qingshu's current martial arts skills, only others would retreat. Why would they retreat? Song Qingshu walked into the dilapidated temple with the two women. When he opened the door of the temple, he suddenly hesitated and took out a silver-white iron mask to cover his face. When he came out of the tea house, he had restored his original appearance. But this place was still in the territory of the Southern Song dynasty. If someone guessed that he was Jia Baoyu, it would be a little troublesome. After entering the door, The three of them stopped at the same time. It turned out that there was a bonfire in the dilapidated temple, and there were 18 masked men in black scattered around. Noticing the movement at the door, they all looked over with sharp eyes. Zhou and Indigo Phoenix felt a little uncomfortable as they felt the murderous intent in Song Qingshu's eyes. They could not help but lean against Song Qingshu. They only calmed down when they felt his aura. "Let's take shelter here for a while and leave in a while." Song Qingshu smiled as if he did not feel anything. After that, he pulled Zhou and Indigo Phoenix to a corner and sat with their legs crossed. The masked men in black in the temple looked at each other. Initially, they thought that the people who entered the temple would leave after seeing the situation in the temple. They had important matters to attend to and did not want to cause any more trouble. Hence, they thought that this matter would be over. Who knew that this man and two women would walk in directly? It was beyond their expectations. Could it be that they were bold? This was the first thought that popped up in the minds of the masked men. However, they quickly denied it. Among the three of them, only the young lady's kung fu was slightly better. The other woman's kung fu was not good enough to catch their attention. As for the man, he did not have any vital chi on him at all. The group of masked men looked at each other for a while. In the end, no one said anything. They just sent someone to close the door of the temple and then sat down with their legs crossed. Other than the sound of the firewood burning, there was no other sound in the temple. In addition, the group of masked men glanced at Song Qingshu and the rest from time to time. Hence, the atmosphere was very strange. Song Qingshu also frowned inwardly. These black-clothed people all had profound auras, and their divine splendor was restrained. Their cultivations were probably not inferior to Qiu Qianren's, and they ought to be illustrious figures in the Jianghu. But no matter how he racked his brains, he was still unable to guess the identity of these people. One had to know that Qiu Qianren's kung fu was only second to the 5 ultimates. However, there were 18 masters in this temple who were at the same level as Qiu Qianren. 1 or 2 of them even had the cultivation of the 5 ultimates. How strong was this force? Why were they unknown in Jianghu? Blue Phoenix collected some weeds and dry firewood nearby and started a fire. There were so many unfamiliar men in the temple. Naturally, it was not convenient for her and Zhou to take off their coats to warm themselves. They could only get as close to the fire as possible in an attempt to dry their clothes. The heat of the fire gradually dispelled the cold air on their bodies. Zhou subconsciously glanced at the altar. She could see a few vague figures behind the tattered cloth curtain. She could not help but be shocked. Song Qingshu was deep in thought when Zhou poked his waist. Her pretty face was filled with shock. Song Qingshu was also stunned when he followed her gaze. It turned out that there were a few people tied up in a faraway corner. They were the Vajra sect master and the Xianming elders. Their hair was disheveled and they were covered in blood. It was obvious that they had gone through a huge battle. Their eyes were tightly shut, and it was unknown whether they were dead or alive. Something happened to these people. What about Zhao Min? Song Qingshu was shocked. He quickly looked to the side and happened to see a young lady looking in his direction after hearing the commotion. Who else could it be but Zhao Min? Zhao Min was tied to a pillar. Her hair was a little messy. She was no longer as beautiful and elegant as she used to be. Instead, she looked delicate and pitiful. Her clothes were intact, and there were no traces of blood. It was obvious that she was not injured. However, one could tell from her eyes that she was in shock. Zhao Min recognized Zhou Zhiruo and Blue Phoenix. As for Song Qingshu, she subconsciously thought that he was Jia Baoyu. She thought that Zhou Zhiruo had purposely put on a mask for him to deceive others. Zhao Min's face lit up when she saw the familiar faces. However, she quickly thought of something and signaled Zhou Zhiruo with her eyes, telling her to leave quickly. Zhou Zhiruo's heart skipped a beat. Although she could not sense the specific strength of these men in black like Song Qingshu, she was very familiar with the Xianming elders and the Vajra sect masters' martial arts. The 3 of them were top-notch experts. In addition, there were many warriors in the Mongolian envoy. If they were captured alive by this group of men in black, their strength must be terrifying. There were no other Mongolian warriors in the temple. They must have been killed and their corpses thrown into the wilderness. Song Qing-shu and the other two exchanged glances. They could clearly see the seriousness in each other's eyes. Who are these people? Why did they attack the Mongolians? Song Qing-shu's heart was filled with doubts. The Xianming elders were originally looking dispirited with their heads drooped. At this time, they also noticed the commotion and raised their heads to look. When they saw Zhou Zhuo and the others clearly, they couldn't help but reveal a happy expression and shouted, "Didn't I just tell you that Jia Baoyu has been kidnapped? You didn't believe me. Look, the people who kidnapped him are right in front of you." Their voices were hoarse, and their breathing was very messy. It was obvious that they were severely injured. When Zhao Min saw the Xianming elders looking in their direction, she knew that they were in trouble. Before she could stop them, they blurted out. She could not help but feel angry and guilty. Although her relationship with Zhou Zhuo could not be considered good, and they did not have a good impression of each other, it was only a dispute between gentlemen. She had never thought of killing her. If there was not much of a difference between them, Zhao Min might have called out Zhou Zhuo's identity and tried to drive the tiger to swallow the wolf. However, this group of top-notch experts appeared out of nowhere. Even the Vajra sect master and his group were completely annihilated. Although Zhou Zhuo's martial arts were high, she was at most on par with the Xianming elders. If she called out her identity now, it would not be driving the tiger to swallow the wolf, but driving the tiger to swallow the rabbit. More importantly, as long as this group of men in black did not find Jia Baoyu, she would be safe. Moreover, as long as Zhou Zhuo left this place, Zhao Min believed that the other party would definitely find a way to save her. Zhao Min did not know why she was so confident. Logically speaking, Zhou Zhuo should hate her to the core, but the two of them had been fighting openly and covertly all these years, and they had gradually developed a sense of mutual appreciation. If she were in Zhou Zhuo's shoes, she would definitely think of a way to save the other party. Of course, all of this had to be built on the condition that Zhou Zhuo left safely. Now that she had been caught off guard and encountered this group of experts, she could not save her even if she wanted to. Zhao Min knew that with Zhou Zhuo's intelligence, she would definitely be able to analyze how powerful this group of men in black was based on their current miserable state. She would not act rashly and would go back to inform other experts, such as Ouyang Feng or Song Qing-shu. Unfortunately, all of this was ruined by the two good-for-nothings Xianming elders. Zhao Min's expression was ashen as she hurriedly shouted, "You two must be muddle-headed. How can you randomly call someone?" The Xianming elders were startled and did not understand the other party's hint at all. They blurted out, "Zhou Zhuo is as beautiful as a fairy, and the indigo phoenix is bewitching and enchanting. How can we mistake her?" Zhao Min could not help but close her eyes and lamented endlessly in her heart. These two fellows can't do anything right. Zhou Zhuo was exceptionally intelligent and quickly understood that Zhao Min was covering up her identity. When she thought of how the other party was still trying to save her, even though her life was hanging by a thread, an indescribable feeling instantly welled up in her heart. The group of men in black was quickly alarmed by the Xianming elder's voice and stood up one after another. The person in the lead chuckled and said, "So, it's sect leader Zhou of the Amei faction and order leader Lan of the Five Venoms faction. You really have eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai." Although he said this, his tone was incomparably mocking. It was obvious that he did not take the two women seriously. Song Qing-shu noticed that most of their gazes were on him, and he couldn't help but feel his scalp go numb. These people couldn't be perverts, right? The two charming beauties next to him didn't care about him at all and only looked at him. What was going on? However, he quickly realized that these people had mistaken him for Jia Baoyu. Chapter 1197. In the entire Jianghu, who else but the people of the Isle of Heroes could have such high kung fu but were nameless? Song Qing-shu had seen Zhang San and Li Si's kung fu before, and they were only slightly weaker than the five masters. Their positions were similar to these masked men in black, so they must also be messengers of good and evil. Song Qing-shu looked around and didn't see Zhang San and Li Si among the masked men. Although they were masked, with Zhang San's wide and plump physique and Li Si's special aura that was like profound ice, Even a mask couldn't conceal their appearance. He quickly felt relieved. Zhang San and Li Si were the representatives of the Isle of Heroes, after all. Jia Sherdao was worried that people would find out about his relationship with the Isle of Heroes, so he sent some messengers of good and evil, who had never appeared in the Jianghu, to carry out this mission. Looking at the 18 masters who were close to the 5 masters, Song Qing-shu couldn't help but sigh. No wonder even the Vajra faction master and the Xianming elders were in trouble. Jia Sherdao was really generous. While he was deep in thought, the leader of the men in black gave an order, capture 2 women alive. As soon as he said that, a few men in black jumped toward Zhou Zhuruo and Indigo Phoenix. Zhou Zhuruo shouted and unsheathed her sword to fight the enemies. She had learned her lesson. Although the temple wasn't small, it wasn't big. She couldn't use her long whip, so she used her sword. Seeing that there were 4 men in black rushing toward Zhou Zhuruo, Zhao Min couldn't help but worry for her. These people were very skilled at kung fu, but they didn't care about the rules of the Jianghu at all. They swarmed their enemies without caring about numbers, unlike the Vajra faction master and priest Baisu. In terms of real power, Zhou Zhuruo was at most the same level as one of the men in black. It was more than enough for 4 masters of the same level to attack her. The 4 of them were obviously thinking the same thing. They attacked her from the front, back, left, and right. Not only did they attack her vitals, they also sealed off all her escape routes. Just as they were about to capture her, a cold glint suddenly blossomed in front of them. The 4 of them were shocked and hurriedly retreated. Looking at the bloody wound on their chests, they all turned pale with fright. Sky Sword, one of them said in a hoarse voice as he looked at the sharp sword in Zhou Zhuruo's hand that gleamed with a cold light. It had to be known that at their level of martial arts, their bare hands were enough to deal with most weapons. If an ordinary person were to use a sharp sword to clash with their bare hands, the sword would instead be shattered by their internal energy. Unfortunately, the heavenly sword was no ordinary metal, and Zhou Zhuruo's internal energy was not much different from theirs. Thus, as they were caught off guard, the 4 of them instantly suffered serious injuries. It was a pity that Indigo Phoenix wasn't so lucky. She grabbed a handful of poisonous powder and threw it into the fire when she saw 2 black figures pouncing toward her. The fire burst into a dazzling flame. Coupled with the pungent, poisonous smoke, one of the black figures had no choice but to retreat. Unfortunately, the man in black who was pouncing towards her from the other direction, Indigo Phoenix couldn't avoid him. Her clavicle acupoint was instantly blocked by him. Indigo Phoenix used the same trick again. A small green snake instantly shot towards the man's throat. A huge poisonous spider took the opportunity to climb onto the back of the man's hand. Initially, they thought that the man would be frightened to the point of losing his head, who knew that the man would extend his fingers to block in front of his body, catching the small green snake that was as fast as lightning. The small green snake twisted its body and tried to bite him. The man laughed sinisterly and used his kung fu to clamp the small green snake to death. After throwing the little green snake's corpse into the fire, the man looked at the big furry spider on the back of his hand, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. He directly slapped the spider to death on the back of his hand. Indigo Phoenix was dumbfounded. One had to know that the spider was meticulously cultivated by the 5 Venoms order. It was extremely poisonous. How could he kill it just like that? There were no signs of poisoning at all. How was that possible? It turned out that the people of the Isle of Heroes were highly skilled in martial arts. Other than gaining enlightenment from the vast Taishan Sutra, they also knew how to use medicine to aid in the cultivation of their inner energy. Some of the messengers of rewarding good and punishing evil practiced the yang path of inner energy. Some of them practiced the yin path of inner energy because the cultivation of inner energy was too strange and dangerous. Hence, they had to rely on medicine to aid in their cultivation. Although the group of people in black was masked, there was an obvious characteristic on their bodies. They all had a gourd hanging on their waists. Some of them had a red gourd hanging on their waists, while some had a blue gourd hanging on their waists. These gourds contained the medicine wine. In a vermilion gourd was a strong medicinal wine that was extremely dry and hot. It was made by adding the fierce fire pill into the wine. In the blue gourd was a cool medicinal wine that was extremely cold and cold. It was made by mixing the 99 pills into the wine. The fiery pill and the 99 pills contained many elixirs. The 99 pills contained 9 types of poisonous herbs. The fiery pill contained fewer poisonous herbs. However, it contained the crane's crown and the peacock's gallbladder. It was made by the people of the Isle of Heroes over the years. No matter what kind of medicine wine it was extremely strong. A few drops of it on the tip of one's tongue would be fatal. Even though the messengers of rewarding good and punishing evil's inner energy was so high, they still needed to consume the antidote to prevent themselves from being poisoned. After so many years, they had developed a certain immunity to poison. Hence, they were not afraid of the indigo phoenix's poisonous spider. It was a pity that the indigo phoenix did not know the trick. She was in a daze, and her acupuncture points were sealed by the person. She could not move anymore. Jojurual was shocked. She leaped over and tried to save the indigo phoenix. Unfortunately, for people in black came out and blocked her. They had learned from their partner's lesson. They did not fight head-on with the heavenly sword anymore. Instead, they chose to fight with the sword. Jojurual shouted and used all kinds of tricks. It was a pity that these people in black were highly skilled in martial arts. Moreover, they outnumbered her. Hence, they were able to neutralize her moves. After fighting for a while, Jojurual felt that the pressure from all directions was getting stronger. She started to feel anxious. At the same time, she wondered why Song Qingshu did not help her. She thought that there was something wrong with Song Qingshu's body. Jojurual looked over with concern. She saw her husband standing at the same spot quietly. He did not seem to have any intention of helping. She could not help but be stunned. A fight between masters did not allow for any distraction. Jojurual's moment of carelessness allowed the people in black to take advantage of it. They broke through her sword net and sealed all her acupuncture points. Zhao Min, who was watching the battle attentively from the side, couldn't help but have a gloomy expression when she saw this. She didn't expect that she and Jojurual would end up in the same situation after fighting for a lifetime. Sect Leader Zhou, you are indeed the #1 person in the world at the Lion Slaying Convention. The 8 of us had to work together to subdue you. You even injured 4 of us. Seeing that Jojurual was subdued, they could not help but applaud. Jojurual scoffed, "Don't flatter me. If it wasn't for the sharpness of the heavenly sword, I could only handle 1 of you. You are too humble, Sect Leader Zhou." The leader of the men in black smiled and stopped looking at her. He walked straight to Song Qingshu and bowed respectfully. "Mister, we are late to the rescue. Please forgive us." Song Qingshu seemed to have expected this. He said in Jia Baoyu's voice, "No need to be so polite. Everyone, please get up." Zhao Min, who was tied to the pillar, was shocked. Jia Sherdao had such a powerful force under his command. What was he trying to do? Jojurual and Blue Phoenix's doubts were finally solved. It turned out that Song Qingshu was wearing Jia Baoyu's clothes and a mask. With the Xianming elders pointing out his identity, the men in black had no idea that he was actually Jia Baoyu. Not to mention the men in black. Even Zhao Min and the Vajra faction leader had thought this person was Jia Baoyu. Jojurual couldn't help but admire Song Qingshu's calmness. She hadn't realized this in a hurry. She had only wanted to join hands with Song Qingshu to defeat the men in black. Fortunately, her husband was calm. Otherwise, although he was good at martial arts, there were 18 masters who were close to the level of the 5 greats. If they really fought, it would be difficult for him to defeat them. It would be better for him to act according to the situation as Jia Baoyu. However, Song Qingshu thought even more deeply. If he was the only one facing these 18 top-notch experts, he could use his Qigong and the terrain to deal with them. In the end, he would be the one to survive, but he would have to pay a heavy price. But this time, he had Jojurual and Blue Phoenix with him. If they were to fight, he wouldn't be able to take care of them. If they used them to threaten him, he would be in a dilemma. The leader stood up and said, "According to the island master, we have to bring you back to the island." I'm afraid we won't be able to return to the Central Plains for a year or two. If you need anything, you can ask us to prepare in advance. I need it. Song Qingshu's lips curled up slightly. He pointed at Zhou Zhuo, Blue Phoenix, and Zhao Min. The island is too boring. I have to find some beautiful women to accompany me. These few are not bad. I'll take them. The black-clothed leader's face twitched as he expressionlessly said, "The island is indeed a little boring. However, these women are all devastatingly beautiful. Even though that indigo phoenix from the Five Venoms cult is slightly inferior in terms of looks, she is naturally seductive. This subordinate is worried that young master's body might not be able to withstand it. When the time comes, the island lord will blame us." He had always known this young master's character and was not surprised that he had made such a request. Song Qingshu laughed and said, "Don't worry. The island master gave me a secret manual of the plucking technique. Not only will it not harm my body, but I can also cultivate my inner strength through it." The leader was stunned, but he didn't doubt it. After all, he knew that the island master was very powerful. It was not impossible for him to find such a secret manual. This secret manual is quite suitable for you. Zhou Zhuo and Blue Phoenix knew Song Qingshu's identity. Xiaomin only thought he was Jia Baoyu. She couldn't hold back her anger anymore when she heard the two of them talking about turning her into that useless plaything. She said, "Do you know who I am? If you dare to touch me, the Mongolian Empire will make you beg for death." Song Qingshu took the opportunity to ask, "Yes, she is the princess of the Mongolian Empire. How do you touch her?" The leader answered, "We intercepted them, but you disappeared. We were worried about your safety, so we captured them. Along the way, we interrogated them about your whereabouts. Luckily, we met you here. As for the princess of the Mongolian Empire..." Chapter 1198. Song Qingshu was speechless. These people were really ruthless. But what if we start a war between the Mongols and the Song Empire? "Don't worry, sir," the leader answered. "No one will know about this. We've already made arrangements. All the clues point to the Jin Kingdom. Even if the Ruyang Mansion sends people to investigate, they'll only use troops against the Jin Kingdom. It'll be perfect for them to fight each other." Song Qingshu was filled with emotion. The officials of the Southern Song dynasty weren't good at fighting, but they were good at scheming. Jia Sherdao and Machiel were political enemies, but the two of them had the same idea. The only difference was that one tried to start a war between the Mongols and the Jin Kingdom, while the other tried to start a war between the Mongols and the Song dynasty. Zhao Min heard their conversation clearly. She was shocked and angry. She couldn't help but scold the Xinming elders. "It's all your fault. Now our only hope is gone." Lu Zhanke looked at Zhou Zhuo and the Blue Phoenix, who were also captured. He chuckled and said, "We're going to die anyway. It's better to have a few beauties to accompany us on the road to hell than to die alone." Because of Zhao Min's influence, he didn't dare to do anything to her, even though he was sober. He only mentioned Zhou Zhuo and the Blue Phoenix. Song Qingshu heard what Lu Zhanke said. He couldn't help but laugh. "Who said they would accompany you on the road to hell?" He walked over as he spoke. Hugging Zhou Zhuo with his left hand and Zhao Min with his right, he could feel the astonishing softness of the two's delicate bodies. He deliberately revealed an expression as if he was enchanted by their beauty and said, "How could I bear to kill such two great beauties?" Zhou Zhuo was fine being hugged by him. After all, she knew who he was. However, she was still angry when she saw him hugging Zhao Min in front of her. If she wasn't worried about exposing his identity, she would have jumped on him and bitten him. Zhao Min, on the other hand, raised her eyebrows and shouted, "Take your filthy hands away." "What if I don't take it away?" As if to confirm his own words, Song Qingshu used his finger to slide across her face. His behavior was extremely frivolous. "It's even smoother and more tender than egg white." Song Qingshu secretly praised. Zhao Min glared at him, her eyes full of killing intent, but before she could do anything, Zhou Zhuo beside her said angrily, "Don't touch her." Song Qingshu reflexively said, "If you don't touch her, do you want me to touch you?" As soon as the words left his mouth, he cursed inwardly. He had been too engrossed in his role and had forgotten her identity in that moment. Zhou Zhiruo also blushed, who knew that she would sit up straight and puff out her chest. Pursing her lips, she snorted, "If your hands really can't stay still, you can touch me." Seeing the husband and wife throwing a tantrum, Indigo Phoenix wanted to laugh, but she did not dare to. She could only turn her head away and hold it in. However, Zhao Min did not know the reason. Seeing that her rival in love was taking care of her, she could not help but feel touched. "Zhiruo, why are you so nice to me?" Noticing the weird looks from the people around, Zhou Zhiruo also realized that her behavior was illogical. She was worried that she would expose Song Qingshu's identity, so she quickly explained, I'm just returning the favor for reminding me to leave. I don't like to owe favors, especially to you." Zhao Min, who knew that Zhao Min was still smiling, "I suddenly think that you're quite cute at that time." Zhou Zhiruo spat and turned her head away, too lazy to care about her. Song Qingshu laughed. "That's right. Sisters should be united and friendly. That way, I won't have to worry about things in the harem in the future." "Shut up." The two ladies glared at him at the same time. Cough, cough. The leader of the men in black could not stand him teasing the two ladies. He could not help but remind him, "Let's leave this place as soon as possible. Once we're back on the island, you could do whatever you want." Of course, of course. Song Qingshu was trying to think of a way to get out of trouble while he was dealing with them. "The rain outside is almost over. Let's get going." The leader of the men in black began to arrange for his partners to escort Zhao Min and the rest. When he passed by Song Qingshu, he suddenly stopped and looked at him strangely. "Mister, why are you wearing a mask on your face?" As soon as he said that, Zhou Zhiruo and Indigo Phoenix were stunned. Their hearts were in their throats. Song Qingshu was not in a hurry. He pointed at Zhou Zhiruo, who was not far away, and said, "After this lady intercepted me, she was worried that my identity would be exposed, so she put a mask on my head. I don't know how she designed this mask. I can't take it off no matter how hard I try. Why don't you help me take a look?" "All right." The leader did not worry and walked over. He was still holding the heavenly sword that Zhou Zhiruo had dropped earlier. "If it doesn't work, we still have the heavenly sword that can cut through metal like mud. Don't worry, mister." The man walked in front of Song Qingshu and put the heavenly sword aside. "Mister, please take a seat. Let me take a good look at how this mask was designed." "No problem." Song Qingshu took the opportunity to sit down, but his eyes were secretly calculating the distribution of the men in black. "Let me take a look." The leader of the men in black leaned over and looked at Song Qingshu's head. This mask seems to be..." He was suspicious of Do Songsheng. Just as he was about to say something, he suddenly felt a chill on his chest. He looked down in disbelief and saw Jia Baoyu poking his heart with 2 fingers. The sharp sword aura instantly destroyed the life in his body. In a split second, the scene from earlier replayed in his mind. He finally understood something. He wanted to warn his companions, but he was powerless. What happened? Even though Song Qingshu's movements were as careful as possible, everyone present was a top-notch master. They could vaguely sense the murderous aura at that moment. They could not help but look in his direction. Song Qingshu's figure suddenly moved. The bonfire in the middle seemed to be blown by a strong gust of wind, exploding. Flying sparks filled the entire dilapidated temple, causing the light to flicker. Zhou Zhiruo and the Indigo Phoenix were fine. After all, they were mentally prepared. Zhao Min and the rest were shocked. They widened their eyes and tried to see what was happening. Unfortunately, it was as if they were in a sea of murderous aura. The murderous aura around them was extremely viscous. They could not see anything or hear anything. It felt like a century had passed, but it also felt like it was only a moment. The surrounding air finally returned to normal. Zhao Min panted heavily. She felt that her entire body was soaked in cold sweat. She did not need to look to know that the guardian deity and the Xianming elders were not any better than her. The dancing sparks in the sky gradually dissipated. Zhao Min could finally see the scene not far away clearly. Other than the leader of the men in black who was kneeling on the ground with his head lowered, the other 17 men in black were glaring angrily. They were like ferocious tigers that were ready to pounce. They surrounded a young man with fluttering long hair in the middle. The man had sword-like eyebrows and bright eyes. The corner of his mouth seemed to always have an annoying yet alluring smile. Who else could it be but Song Qing-shu? It turned out that the mask on his face could not withstand the murderous aura that had exploded in that instant. It had long been lost. Seeing that the 17 men in black were about to pounce on him, as if they could tear him into pieces in an instant, Zhao Min was anxious. She blurted out, "Be careful. These people's martial arts are very." She was so shocked that she could not speak. She had noticed that Song Qing-shu was holding the heavenly sword in his hand. There was a drop of fresh blood hanging on the tip of the sword. As if they were shaken by her sound waves, the men in black's necks simultaneously released a cloud of blood mist. Under the reflection of the fire, one could vaguely see bright and strange rainbows. As the blood mist sprayed out, the men in black seemed to have been drained of all their strength. One by one, they fell limply to the ground. It was only then that Zhao Min clearly saw their eyes. They were not glaring angrily as she had initially thought. Instead, they were incomparably shocked and in disbelief. The jaws of the guardian deity and the Xianming elders were about to drop to the ground. They had personally experienced the martial arts of this group of mysterious experts in black before. The Xianming elders could only deal with one man in black each. The guardian deity was slightly better, as he could barely deal with 2 or 3 men. Chapter 1199. Zhao Min was startled when she heard that, because she was shocked by what had happened in front of her, coupled with the fact that Song Qing-shu had taken liberties with her. Her reaction was slower than usual. When she heard Zhou Zhiruo's words, she instantly realized that she was in great danger. Since Song Qing-shu pretended to be Jia Baoyu, the real Jia Baoyu was obviously dead. Once the impersonation was exposed, Jia Shidao would fight him to the death. After all, Jia Shidao was the top military man in the Southern Song dynasty. Although Song Qing-shu's Golden Snake Camp was full of vigor, it was still weak and couldn't compete with the Southern Song dynasty. Moreover, it was now fighting with Li Kaxiu's Jiangnan Green Camp. Once the Southern Song dynasty officially joined the war, the Golden Snake Camp would be defeated. But this was not the most important thing. If it was just Jia Baoyu, Zhao Min was very sure that Song Qing-shu wouldn't do anything to her because of their friendship. However, Song Qing-shu pretended to be Jia Baoyu and not only deceived her, but also the whole linen. Even Jia Shidao didn't find out that his son had been killed. What a magic disguise. Last time when he saw Jia Baoyu disguise himself as Tang Kuobian in the Jin Kingdom, he thought it was just a coincidence. After all, Tang Kuobian had a full beard, which was too obvious and easy to disguise. But this time, Jia Baoyu was a rich playboy without a beard. Without the beard, every inch of skin on his face could be seen by familiar people. But still no one found out, which proved that Song Qing-shu had the ability to disguise himself as anyone. If he had this ability, many powerful people would have trouble sleeping and eating. It would be easier for him to become the public enemy of all men in the world. After all, no man would want another man to disguise himself and make out with his wife. Recalling Tang Kuobian of the Jin Kingdom, Zhao Min suddenly recalled that Song Qing-shu had tried to assassinate Kangxi of the Qin Kingdom. She had felt that there was something fishy about the whole thing. Based on her understanding of Song Qing-shu, how could he have acted so recklessly? Could it be? Seeing Zhao Min's expression change several times, Song Qing-shu smiled and said, "It seems that your highness has thought through many things." Zhao Min smiled bitterly. At this time, I suddenly feel that it would be better if I wasn't so smart. Song Qing-shu also sighed. If it was any other matter, I could let you go, but this matter involves too many people, and it concerns the lives of countless people. I have to nip any risk in the bud. Zhao Min's face was pale as she murmured, "I understand. If I were in your shoes, I would have made the same choice." Seeing the two of them tangling with each other, Zhou Zhiruo could not help but snort. "Are you done yet? If you can't do it, then let me do it." After saying that, She reached out to grab the heavenly sword in Song Qingshu's hand. In fact, if it were any other woman, Zhou Zhiruo would not have lost her composure like this. However, every time she saw Zhao Min's beautiful face and the proud expression between her brows, she would feel suffocated. Zhao Min pursed her lips and smiled. "Girl, do you want me to die so badly?" Zhou Zhiruo turned her face away and snorted. "Lest you vixen go and harm people again." Zhao Min smiled even more happily. "You hate me so much. Is it because of Zhang Wuji, or are you afraid that I will steal your man again?" "You." Zhou Zhiruo was speechless for a moment. Her pretty face turned red. She did not know how to reply. Could she say that it was because of another man in front of her husband? She was not that stupid. However, if she admitted the latter reason, wouldn't she think that her charm was far inferior to the other party? She could admit defeat to anyone but Zhao Min. Humph, this vixen. I don't even know what I owed her in my previous life. Now, she still wants to harm me, even when she is on the verge of death. Zhou Zhiruo thought indignantly. Song Qingshu did not give the sword to Zhou Zhiruo. Instead, he raised it and pressed it against Zhao Min's fair and jade-like neck. The cold air from the tip of the heavenly sword caused goosebumps to form on Zhao Min's skin. She took a deep look at the man in front of her and then closed her eyes. With Zhao Min's intelligence, she knew that if she begged softly, there might be a turn for the better. However, if she did that, wouldn't she be unable to raise her head in front of Zhou Zhiruo for the rest of her life? However, what made her even more dispirited was that Song Qingshu really wanted to kill her. She suddenly felt that life seemed to have lost all meaning. Looking at Zhao Min's slightly raised chin and the silent pride on her face, Song Qingshu frowned. He could not stab her no matter how hard he tried. While he was hesitating, He Biweng cried out, "Song Qingshu, do you really want to kill the princess? Do you still have a conscience? Do you know that the princess immediately traveled thousands of miles to Jiangnan when she heard that something had happened to you? She even faked the Great Khan's decree to pressure the Southern Song dynasty." "Shut up." Before he could finish, Zhao Min suddenly opened her eyes and glared at him. "We Mongolians only have heroes who die in battle, not cowards who beg for mercy." "Princess, I'm not a Mongolian." Seeing that Song Qingshu seemed to really want to kill her, the Vajra sect master could no longer sit still. He hurriedly said, "Prince Song, with the relationship between you and our princess, you'll be a family sooner or later. What enmity can't be resolved? Isn't it just pretending to be Jia Baoyu? We won't tell anyone, so why is it so serious?" His explanation was not based on loyalty, but mainly out of consideration for himself. If even Zhao Min was killed, how could they survive? Unfortunately, they were not as smart as Zhao Min and did not realize the seriousness of the matter. "Shut up." Zhao Min did not expect her subordinates to undermine her one after another. She could not help but feel ashamed and angry. She wished she could pick up a needle and sew the mouths of these barbarians shut. She glanced at the expressions on Song Qingshu and the others' faces out of the corner of her eyes, and her pretty face turned redder than a rose. The corners of Song Qingshu's lips curled up slightly as he put away his heavenly sword. The Vajra sect master and the others had just sighed in relief when the heavenly sword instantly appeared at their throats again. "Since you're so loyal to your master, I'll kill you first. I'll let you scout the path to hell for your master." The Vajra sect master instantly felt his head straighten up when he sensed the killing intent on the tip of the sword. Although he had been bald for decades and did not have a single hair on his head, he still felt his head straighten up. "Prince Song, great hero Song, I've indeed offended you in the past. Please be magnanimous and spare us for the sake of the princess." Although he was a grandmaster, he lived in the western regions and abided by the code of conduct where the strong were respected. He was not like the sect masters of the Central Plains who cherished their wings and wings, so he did not hesitate to beg for mercy. Zhao Min said angrily, "If you want to beg for mercy, then beg. Why are you dragging me into this?" Although she said that, she still spread her arms in front of them and said to Song Qingshu, "They're my subordinates. If you want to kill them, you'll have to kill me first." Song Qing lifted her chin with the tip of his sword and said coldly, "Do you really think that I won't dare to kill you?" Zhao Min bit her lip and said indifferently, "You're a great hero. Is there anyone in this world that you don't dare to kill?" Song Qing was silent for a while before he said, "They don't know why I want to kill you, but you should know that I won't let you off." "I know." Zhao Min's face was expressionless. Only then did the Vajra sect master and the Xianming elders realize that Song Qing really wanted to kill them, and that it was not a small conflict between lovers. They could not help but be shocked. "Great hero Song, let's talk this out. As long as you let us off, we'll work for you from now on. Although our martial arts are far inferior to yours, we're still passable in the martial arts world. We'll still be of some use," the Xianming elders said eagerly. Although Zhao Min knew their characters very well, she was not surprised to see them acting so servile. She kept a straight face and did not say a word throughout the entire process. "Unfortunately, I don't trust you," Song Qing said coldly. The Xianming elders were not surprised when they heard that his tone had softened. Instead, they were delighted. "May I know how you can make us brothers trust you, young master?" Song Qing took out 2 bright red pills and placed them in front of them. "With your knowledge, I'm sure you've heard of the 3 corpse brain pills. Eat them, and I might spare your lives." The Xianming elders looked at each other and saw the fear in each other's eyes. They had been in the martial arts world for many years, so how could they not know what the 3 corpse brain pills were? Apart from the person who poisoned them, no one else could cure it. Even Zhao Min, a dignified princess, could not find an antidote even after using the entire Ruyang Imperial Residence's resources. Once they ate the 3 corpse brain pills, they could only listen to Song Qing in the future. Otherwise, if he did not give them the antidote, the corpse worms would gnaw on their brains. That would be a fate worse than death. Unfortunately, they had no other choice now, so they could only swallow the pills with a bitter expression. "Very good." Song Qing nodded in satisfaction. "Look into my eyes." The Xianming elders subconsciously raised their heads and felt their vision plunge into darkness. After making them consume the 3 corpse brain divine pill, Song Qing was still not at ease, so he branded a mark in their souls so that they would subconsciously not dare to betray him. Soul transfer technique. With the Titanium Order Master's cultivation base and knowledge, he had naturally heard of this technique from the 9E manual. When he saw that Song Qing had easily transferred the souls of the 2 great experts, he could not help but feel shocked and afraid. Song Qing said indifferently, "Order Master, you have 2 choices. Either you die immediately, or you open your mind and be like them." The Titanium Order Master's skills were far superior to the Xianming elders. Moreover, now that he was on guard, it was quite risky for him to perform the soul transfer technique on him. Of course, Song Qing current skills would not cause him to suffer a backlash, but it was very likely that the Titanium Order Master's consciousness would be completely destroyed if he resisted. Song Qing did not want to have another idiot as his subordinate. The Titanium Order Master's expression changed. His pride as a member of the Imperial family made him unwilling to be ordered around like this from now on, but his longing for the world of sensual pleasures made him unwilling to die just like this. After a long time, he finally exhaled and said, "Do it." When Song Qing saw the grief and indignation on his face, which looked like a young girl about to endure the humiliation of a burly man, he was speechless. He suppressed his disgust and performed the soul transfer technique on him. Perhaps it was because he had witnessed the scene of Song Qing instantly killing 18 top-notch experts, but the Titanium Order Master was very sensible. He did not resist at all, and the entire process went very smoothly. After Song Qing fed him the 3 corpse brain divine pill, he said to them, "All of you should return to Mongolia first. I've already told you how you're going to report to your superiors. Everything else remains the same, and I'll let you know if I need anything in the future." "Yes, young master." The 3 of them looked at each other. They did not feel any changes in their bodies, but they vaguely felt that something was added to their minds. They looked at Zhao Min sheepishly before they turned around and left dejectedly. You're trying to poach my people right in front of me. Have you ever considered my feelings as your master? Zhao Min had been watching from the sidelines the entire time and only spoke now. Song Qingshu smiled. You can still order them around like you usually do, but they'll still listen to me in the end. Chapter 1200. Song Qingshu was shocked. He hastily withdrew his Etian sword and glared at Zhao Min with both shock and anger. Are you crazy? Zhao Min turned her head away and replied coldly. I'm not afraid of death like the Xianming elders, so you'd better give up the idea of threatening me with death as soon as possible. Heavens! Speak! Speak! I know you'd rather die than submit, okay? Even now, Song Qingshu was still a little scared. Fortunately, he had reached the level where he could control himself. Otherwise, if he had been a little slower, Zhao Min would probably have died. Zhao Min didn't look happy at all. Instead, she said indifferently, I've already been poisoned by the 3-corpse brain pill. You can't use medicine to control me. Instead of letting you use the soul-shifting technique, I'd rather die. Song Qingshu knew that Zhao Min wasn't lying. She wasn't the kind of person who would give up her principles for the sake of survival. Otherwise, she would have listened to Murong Jingyue's 3-corpse brain pill. Seeing her determined look, Song Qingshu smiled bitterly. Who wants to use the soul-shifting technique on you? He did consider using the soul-shifting technique to control Zhao Min, but he quickly rejected the idea. After all, if he did that, Zhao Min would no longer be the cunning and witty demoness in his mind. Zhao Min was startled. Then how do you plan to control me? Song Qingshu said gloomily. I haven't thought about it yet. I've heard that Princess is resourceful. Can you help me come up with some ideas? The corners of Zhao Min's lips curled up slightly. Gradually, a bright and beautiful smile appeared on her face. Since I'm a resourceful princess, why would I help you come up with an idea that would be akin to shooting my own foot? On the side, Zhou Zhuo stomped her feet bitterly. Humph, I knew you couldn't do it. Zhao Min was in a good mood at this time. She looked at her with a smile. Are you very disappointed now? Unexpectedly, Zhou Zhuo was not as exasperated as he imagined. Instead, she breathed a sigh of relief. I am indeed a little disappointed, but if Qingshu really chooses to kill you for his own benefit, I will be more disappointed. Although she said it in a roundabout way, as a woman, Zhao Min instantly understood what she meant. Song Qingshu couldn't help but say gloomily, So you were testing me when you kept pressuring me just now? Zhou Zhuo smiled like a flower. She pulled his arm and begged for mercy. If it wasn't like this, how could I tell whether my husband is a loyal person or a cold-blooded and ruthless person? Zhao Min snorted. Aren't you ashamed of pulling me in public? What's there to be ashamed of pulling my own husband? If you have the ability, you can also pull me. Zhou Zhuo said, and even gave her a provocative look. Pull me? Who's afraid of you? If it was in normal times, Zhao Min would at most flirt with her verbally and would never dare to put it into action. But everything that happened just now made her heart sweeter than honey at this moment. She reached out and hugged Song Qingshu's other arm. Brother Qingshu, do you like me to pull you? Listening to her sweet voice, coupled with the faint soft touch on his arm, Song Qingshu only felt that there was nothing more happy in the world than this. There was a trace of an enjoyable smile on his face. Zhou Zhuo never thought that she would really dare to pull him. She couldn't help trembling with anger. Don't you have any shame? Zhao Min also blushed, but at this time she was full of tenderness and sweetness, so she wasn't angry at all. It was obviously you who asked me to pull you. Why are you blaming me now? Zhou Zhuo was stunned. She didn't expect to shoot herself in the foot. For a moment, she didn't know how to refute. Song Qingshu felt a headache coming on. Although it was blissful to have two beauties on his left and right, the risk was not ordinary. Before the two of them really started fighting, he deliberately coughed and said, Your Highness, don't be too happy too early. Although I can't bear to do anything to you, this matter is of great importance. Before I think of a perfect plan, I can't let you go. Well, I want to go back to Mongolia anyway. After being interrupted like this, Zhao Min was finally embarrassed to hold his hand in front of other women. She let go of his hand without a trace, but she leaned over and said, "Who else have you disguised in the past 2 years? Tranquil bien, Kangxi?" On the side, Zhou Zhuo couldn't help but admire this former rival in love. In a short time, with limited information, he could guess the truth almost correctly. If they were in each other's shoes, she didn't think she had this ability. Looking at Zhao Min's shining eyes, Song Qingshu deliberately put on a straight face and snorted, "It's easy to get killed if you know too much." "Humph. If you don't want to say it, then forget it. I will find out by myself sooner or later." Zhao Min pouted and didn't get to the bottom of it. For some reason, when Zhao Min's frown and smile fell into her eyes, Zhou Zhuo felt that she was deliberately showing off in front of her husband. This feeling made her feel extremely uncomfortable. She couldn't help but interrupt their conversation. "Qingshu, now the rain has stopped. Let's hurry up. I don't want to spend the night in this place full of dead people." Song Qingshu nodded. "That's good too. These men in black might have an accomplice. Although I'm not afraid, it's inevitable that we'll be delayed. Let's leave this place as soon as possible." Naturally, the ladies didn't object. As they passed by the group of men in black's corpses, Zhao Min couldn't help but ask, "How did your martial arts reach such a high level?" According to the Vajra faction master and the Xianming elders, each of these men in black's ability was no weaker than the five greats. "I can't believe you killed them in an instant." This is really, although she was experienced and knowledgeable, she didn't know how to describe the entire incident. She had witnessed the arrogant Vajra faction master and the Xianming elders being beaten like dogs by the group of men in black. In the end, Song Qingshu, who she thought was slightly superior to the Vajra faction master, had killed the group of mysterious experts in an instant. It was really subversive of her understanding. Zhou Zhuo and the Blue Phoenix looked at him at the same time. Zhao Min's question was also on their minds. After all, they had just exchanged blows with those men in black and knew that their cultivation level was already at the pinnacle of the martial world. Song Qingshu stopped and glanced at the men in black on the ground before explaining. "Firstly, I disguised myself as Jia Baiyu, so they weren't on guard against me. Moreover, my movement technique was fast enough, so they didn't have time to react when I found the right opportunity to attack. However, the most important reason was that although these men in black had skills that were comparable to the five greats, they didn't have the battle consciousness that the five greats had. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to kill them so easily." "What do you mean?" Zhao Min was stunned and asked blankly. "What do you mean?" Song Qingshu squatted on the ground and took the wine pot from the man in black's waist. He took a sniff and nodded thoughtfully. "To put it more bluntly, these men in black are top-notch experts that have been trained by a mysterious organization with special medicine to boost their inner energy. Together with the mystical secret manuals, they have been trained to be pinnacle experts." Shaking the gourd in his hand, Song Qingshu said, "This gourd contains a special medicinal wine. It's extremely poisonous, but as long as the dosage is controlled, it's extremely effective in increasing one's skills. After cultivating like this for tens of years, all of them will be able to cultivate an astounding inner energy. It's a pity that although their skills are sufficient and their techniques aren't bad, they lack a martial artist's soul that has been tempered, so they can't unleash much of their abilities. In terms of pure inner energy, these men in black aren't much weaker than Eastern Heretic, Western Poison, Southern Emperor, and Northern Beggar. However, in a real life and death battle, anyone of the five greats should have no problem fighting against 4 to 5 men in black." Zhao Min came to a realization. "I understand now. The reason why the Titanium Faction Master and the Xianming Elders were beaten senseless was mainly because these men in black were extremely skilled in martial arts, and there were too many of them. They gained the upper hand by a show of strength. If they had known that they were strong on the outside but weak on the inside, they wouldn't have lost so badly." Song Qingshu smiled and said, "In theory, the Titanium Faction Master's strength is still in the middle of the five greats. Unfortunately, he's willing to be the Imperial Court's dog and has long lost the heart of a Grandmaster. How can he compare to the heroic spirit of Eastern Heretic, Western Poison, Southern Emperor, and Northern Beggar? If they really fought, I'm afraid he wouldn't be a match for any of the five greats. As for the Xianming elders, let's not talk about them. Initially, Zhao Min felt a little embarrassed when he looked down on the few experts under her that she had always been proud of. However, on second thought, these Astra stars had already changed sides. She instantly calmed down and said, "Anyway, they're already your people now. You can slowly train them in the future." Song Qing-shu felt disgusted when he heard that. Can you not use words so casually? It's disgusting to hear. However, Zhou Zhuo, who was at the side, said, "Can the two of you stop flirting? We should hurry on with our journey." She then ignored the two of them and walked straight out. Seeing that Zhou Zhuo was jealous, Zhao Min couldn't help but purse her lips and smile. Song Qing-shu also looked resentful as he hurriedly chased after her. Indigo Phoenix, who was walking at the back, had a strange look on her face. She thought that compared to Song Qing-shu, she was even more uncomfortable. The three of them were fighting for Song Qing-shu's affections while she stood at the side without any sense of existence. It was so awkward. Previously, the men in black had captured Zhao Min and the rest. They had seized many horses and placed them behind the temple. Song Qing-shu and the rest picked a few horses and started their journey north. They sped all the way and finally arrived at a small town before the sky turned dark. They found an inn to stay for the night. The small town in the mountains had never seen such outstanding beauties. Moreover, there were three of them at the same time. Everyone in the inn stared at Song Qing-shu with envy and jealousy. However, Song Qing-shu and the rest had no time to care about these stares. They had rushed for a day and fought a few battles. Their stomachs were already rumbling. What was even more awkward was that they were all martial artists. Their hearing was much sharper than ordinary people. They could hear the rumbling of their stomachs clearly. Zhou Zhiruo blushed. She had always been elegant and plain. She had never lost her composure like this. Zhao Min was not much better. She had a distinguished identity and had always been living a luxurious life. She had never been so embarrassed before. After this little interlude, the atmosphere that had been tense all the way had eased up. Song Qing-shu heaved a sigh of relief. Who knew that the two of them would start arguing about the dishes again? "Waiter, give me a mutton." As soon as Zhao Min finished speaking, Zhou Zhiruo frowned. "The mutton smells too strong. Eat the fish." Zhao Min frowned. "The fish smells too strong. Eat the mutton." Both of them were arguing endlessly. The waiter at the side was stunned. "Why don't we order both?" "No," Zhao Min and Zhou Zhiruo said in unison. The waiter naturally did not know what they were really arguing about. "Qing-shu, you decide what to eat." Seeing that the argument could not be resolved, Zhou Zhuo directly threw the problem to Song Qing-shu. "Okay." Zhao Min rested her chin on her hand and looked at him with a faint smile. Song Qing-shu suddenly felt that he was in the center of two murderous intents. "Why don't we eat chicken?" Chapter 1201. Hearing Song Qing-shu's answer, Zhou Zhiruo's face turned red, and she glared at him. She was no longer a little girl who was ignorant of the ways of the world. After being with him for so long, how could she not tell that he was deliberately taking advantage of them? On the contrary, Zhao Min replied indifferently, "I'll listen to Qing." Although she was smart, she was an unmarried girl after all. Moreover, she had a high status. No subordinate dared to say such slang in front of her, so she didn't realize the ambiguity in it for a moment. Indigo Phoenix tried to hold back her laughter. "Princess, what do you want to eat?" Although the Indigo Phoenix was also the leader of a sect, the Five Venoms sect was filled with all sorts of people. She was very clear about these common sayings. Zhao Min didn't realize that she had fallen into a trap. She answered subconsciously, "Song Qing-shu is treating us, so of course we'll eat his food." Song Qing-shu was drinking tea and he almost choked. The Indigo Phoenix laughed weirdly. "Prince Song would love to have it if you want to eat it. I'm just afraid that Miss Zhou might not be willing." "It's not like I'm eating her. Why would she be unwilling?" Zhao Min curled her lips and snorted. Zhou Zhiruo's face darkened. She stopped Indigo Phoenix from continuing and said, "Sister Indigo, why are you so bad?" The Indigo Phoenix giggled as she replied, I've always been an evil demon in the eyes of the righteous sections. This is more fitting for my identity. Zhao Min wasn't stupid. She already felt that everyone's reaction was a little strange. Now that she thought about it carefully, she finally understood. She couldn't help but feel embarrassed and anxious. Yuhan people are really more cunning than the other. Indigo Phoenix could not hold it in any longer. She finally giggled. Princess, I'm not a Han. I'm from the Miao family. Zhao Min blushed. They're all the same. Just then, the dishes were served. Song Qing-shu took the opportunity to interrupt. Stop chatting. Let's eat first. As he spoke, he picked up a large drumstick. Before he could put it back in his bowl, Zhou Zhiruo and Zhao Min placed their bowls in front of him at the same time. Song Qing-shu hesitated in the air with the chicken drumstick between his legs. He couldn't give it to Zhou Zhiruo, nor could he give it to Zhao Min. For a moment, he felt a headache coming on. He thought that these two women were born to be enemies, fighting over everything. Zhou Zhiruo snorted coldly. It's natural for a husband to put food in his wife's bowl. What are you trying to do? Unexpectedly, Zhao Min didn't seem to be in the wrong at all. She raised her eyebrows and said in a sweet voice, as the saying goes, guests from afar are guests. How can the host eat first and not give to the guests? It seems like you're not a good wife at all. The atmosphere was tense again. The eyes in the air seemed to be colliding with sparks. Song Qing-shu sighed in his heart. He hadn't even started to enjoy the bliss of having two wives, and it was already like this. If they were to meet in the future, wouldn't they tear down the backyard of his house? He glanced at Indigo Phoenix, who was opposite him. She was putting the drumstick in her bowl. Master Lon, you've been playing with poisons every day. You must be exhausted. Come, have a drumstick to replenish your energy. He didn't even dare to help Indigo Phoenix come all the way to find the antidote for him. After all, Zhao Min came all the way to Lin and to investigate his whereabouts. It could easily cause a conflict between the two women. Then, I'll thank you in advance. Indigo Phoenix didn't reject him and helped him out. Zhou Zhiruo and Zhao Min put down their bowls that were in the air. Even though they were a little unhappy that Song Qing-shu didn't give them the drumstick, at least he didn't give it to their enemy. The two women could still accept it. With the lesson just now, Song Qing-shu didn't dare to take food anymore. He was already famished, but he could only stare at the table full of good food. Just as he was worrying, Zhou Zhiruo put some food into his bowl with her chopsticks. Song Qing-shu was so touched that he wanted a hug and kiss her. He thought to himself, my Zhiruo is so understanding. What's so good about the food? A man should eat meat. Come on, Qing-shu. Zhao Min didn't want to be outdone. She took another drumstick from a plate and gave it to him. Zhou Zhiruo's eyebrows twitched. She suppressed her anger and filled a bowl of lotus soup to Song Qing-shu. You've been hungry for so long. It's not good for your body to suddenly eat oily food. Qing-shu, drink this to warm up your stomach. Uffed. That's because you Han people are pedantic. We Mongolians eat meat and drink wine every day. Don't you see that we're not healthy? We're invincible and we've defeated many countries. Zhao Min poured a glass of wine for Song Qing-shu as she spoke. Brother Qing-shu, drinking wine will warm up your body. The two ladies continued to drink. Not long after, the food in Song Qing-shu's bowl was piled up like a small hill. Noticing the teasing smile on Indigo Phoenix's face, Song Qing-shu thought to himself that he had to finish the food even if he had to cry. Zhao, you're going against me on purpose, aren't you? Zhou Zhiruo couldn't take it anymore. She slammed the table and stood up. Zhao Min replied calmly, Zhou Zhiruo, you have to be honest. I'm just concerned about Brother Qing-shu's health. Why do you think I'm going against you? Are you thinking that he's malnourished and weak? TSK, TSK, TSK. He's my husband. He doesn't need your concern. Zhou Zhiruo said angrily. Zhao Min smiled sweetly. He's my friend too. What's wrong with friends caring for each other? You. Zhou Zhiruo was so angry that she reached out to grab her heavenly sword. All right. Don't be like this. Everyone in the restaurant is watching. Song Qing-shu had to step in to smooth things over. The two women turned around and found that everyone in the store was staring at them with their mouths agape. Their faces couldn't help but heat up, and they could only sit down resentfully. I can finally eat. Song Qing-shu heaved a sigh of relief. He quickly gobbled down the food. After a while, he had finished half of the food that was piled up like a small hill in front of him. Don't waste it. Zhou Zhuo looked at him and scoffed. Song Qing-shu smiled bitterly. I'm full, Zhou Zhuo said calmly. It's fine if you don't want to eat the rest. Finish the food that I put in your bowl. Why? On the other side, Zhao Min immediately protested. Brother Qing-shu, don't you appreciate her good intentions? All right. Don't quarrel. I'll eat it, all right? Song Qing-shu hastily interrupted them and began to stuff the rest of the food into his mouth with tears in his eyes. While eating, Song Qing-shu suddenly felt that something was wrong. He looked under the table and found that the two women's feet were fighting fiercely. Although Zhou Zhuo's martial art skill was higher than Zhao Min's, sitting like this, separated by a table, she couldn't clearly see the opponent's moves, so she could only rely on her instincts. Therefore, the two women kicked each other, kicking each other until they were evenly matched. Just when Song Qing-shu was about to stop them, someone kicked the bottom of the table. The entire table was broken into pieces. If Song Qing-shu and Indigo Phoenix didn't dodge in time, they would have been drenched by the food on the table. The diners nearby weren't so lucky. Even Zhou Zhuo and Zhao Min couldn't dodge because their legs were entangled. They were drenched from head to toe. F***CK, are you kidding me? If you want to quarrel, do it at home. You're a man and you can't even handle your wife. I thought that these two ladies were pretty. Who knew that they were so hot-tempered? It would be troublesome to marry them. There were all sorts of curses around. Facing the anger of these ordinary people, Song Qing-shu wasn't the kind of person to bully the weak. Moreover, he was the one in the wrong. He could only apologize to the crowd and pay for everyone's food and drinks. Only then did he appease the crowd. Zhou Zhuo and Zhao Min weren't in the mood to quarrel anymore. Both of them loved cleanliness. Now that there were so many leftovers on them, they almost went crazy. They quickly asked the innkeeper to prepare hot water and went upstairs to bathe and change their clothes. Unfortunately, there was only one room with a bathtub in this small mountain town. Only one person could bathe first while the others waited for the second round. Zhao Min and Zhou Zhuo were people who loved cleanliness. None of them were willing to wait with so much soup on their clothes. Both of them argued for a long time about who should bathe first. None of them were willing to give way. Finally, under the mediation of Indigo Phoenix, both of them decided to bathe together. Zhou Zhuo felt awkward when she thought about bathing with Zhao Min. Eventually, she invited Indigo Phoenix to accompany them to dissolve the awkwardness. Indigo Phoenix felt uncomfortable after running around for a whole day. However, she didn't want to get involved as Zhao Min and Zhou Zhuo were arguing fiercely. She wanted to bathe later. Now that she got Zhou Zhuo's invitation, she was overjoyed and naturally agreed. Looking at the three ladies running into the room, Song Qing-shu couldn't help but picture some erotic images in his mind. He felt his nose getting hot. He quickly shook his head to get rid of those images. It would be embarrassing if he had a nosebleed. Qing-shu. The door opened suddenly. Zhou Zhuo popped her head out and waved at him. Song Qing-shu was delighted. Did they want to invite him to bathe together? He thought to himself, how can I accept this? Guard outside the door. Don't let anyone near our room. Zhou Zhuo's next words quickly pulled Song Qing-shu back to reality. It turned out that the women were taking a bath together because they were worried about the security of the inn in this shabby town. If someone peeped on them, it would be a great loss. Song Qing-shu was highly skilled in martial arts. Moreover, he was someone they trusted. With him guarding outside, they would be at ease. All right, don't worry. Song Qing-shu couldn't help but laugh at himself for thinking too much. This wasn't a Japanese movie. How could the plot develop in that direction? After Zhou Zhuo returned to the room, she and Zhao Min looked at each other. They felt that the atmosphere in the room was extremely awkward. None of them wanted to take off their clothes first. On the contrary, the Indigo Phoenix was more generous. If you guys aren't going to move, I'll go in first. She smiled and took off her dress. She stepped into the bathtub. Zhou Zhuo and Zhao Min couldn't stand the smell on their bodies. They took off their clothes and entered the bathtub as well. The Indigo Phoenix's eyes lit up. TSK, TSK, TSK. One of you is as exquisite as a white jade guanine, while the other is as elegant as an orchid. I feel so inferior. Zhao Min had always been a cheerful and generous person. After the initial awkwardness, she got used to it quickly. She couldn't help but poke the indigo phoenix's chest with her finger. Her mouth opened so wide that an egg could fit in it. Why are you exaggerating? I'm the one who feels inferior. The indigo phoenix giggled. The scale of the princess isn't small either. Chapter 1202. In fact, objectively speaking, Zhou Zhiruo was not small. At the very least, she was above average. It was just that the other two women were too talented, and she paled in comparison. Zhao Min quickly noticed Zhou Zhiruo's abnormality. After pondering for a moment, she knew what Zhou Zhou was depressed about. She couldn't help but move over and said with a smile, "Little sister Zhou, do you want me to tell you the method to increase the size of your breasts?" "No need." Zhou Zhou straightforwardly refused, and her face turned even darker. She had been with Zhao Min for so many years. How could she not know what kind of person she was? Zhao Min glanced at her chest and showed a faint smile on her face. "I heard that after a woman gets married, that place will become more plump. It seems that rumors can't be completely trusted." Zhou Zhuo stood up and said angrily, "Zhao Min, are you done?" "Ioyo." Zhao Min patted her chest and pretended to be scared. She hid behind the indigo phoenix and said, "I didn't say anything. Why are you so angry?" Zhao Min was good at innuendo. She knew that she was talking about her, but Zhou Zhuo did not know what to do even though she was angry. She felt terrible. "Princess, you women from the grasslands grew up eating beef and drinking horse's milk. Your body's nutrition must be better than other ethnic groups. Sister Zhou is considered pretty good among the Han people." The indigo phoenix tried to ease the tense atmosphere between the two. Zhou Zhiruo's face finally relaxed. Zhao Min knew that it was enough to tease Zhou Zhiruo. If she went overboard and angered her, she would not be able to defeat her. "Leader Lan, I don't think you grew up eating beef and drinking horse's milk. Why are you so impressive?" Hearing her question, Zhou Zhiruo pricked up her ears. She could not learn from Zhao Min's ethnic advantage. On the contrary, the indigo phoenix's situation was similar to hers. Perhaps she could learn from it. Faced with such a sensitive question, the flirtatious indigo phoenix looked embarrassed. "Actually, I don't know what's going on. It seems like I was born this big." Zhou Zhuo, who was waiting to hear the advanced experience, almost fainted. What the indigo phoenix said was a critical hit to her. She felt that if she stayed with these two women any longer, she would definitely go crazy. So, she hurriedly wiped her body, got up, put on her clothes, and sat down to sulk. Noticing her reaction, Zhao Min looked proud. She purposely brought up the topic of the indigo phoenix's breasts. The indigo phoenix did not realize that she was talking to Zhou Zhiruo on purpose. Hence, she started discussing with her without any precaution. Zhou Zhiruo's beautiful face was shrouded in a layer of frost. She stood up and walked out of the room. Just as she was about to leave, out of sight, out of mind, her peripheral vision swept across Zhao Min's exposed skin that was sparkling and translucent like jade. Her eyes rolled around, and a plan formed in her heart. She sat down again. Zhao Min saw that Zhou Zhiruo looked like she had just swallowed a fly. She was satisfied. Who knew that Zhou Zhiruo would be calm again? No matter what she and the indigo phoenix said, Zhou Zhiruo was unmoved. Instead, she smiled as if she was thinking about something happy. Zhao Min felt bored. She chatted with the indigo phoenix for a while and got out of the bathtub. Just when she was about to get her clothes, Zhou Zhiruo took the opportunity to throw a pancreas at her. With Zhou Zhiruo's martial arts skills, she could even throw a concealed weapon accurately. One more pancreas. The pancreas happened to be in the path that Zhao Min was walking on. She stepped on it. Zhao Min was caught off guard. She screamed in fear and instantly lost her balance. Her whole body fell heavily to the ground. Because she was not wearing any clothes, she had an intimate contact with the floor. It was so painful that tears came out of her eyes, and she could not help but moan. The anger that Zhou Zhuruo had been holding in for the whole night was finally released. She wanted to jump up and clap her hands. The indigo phoenix stood up from the bathtub and stretched her body out. She asked with concern, "Princess, how are you?" Before Zhao Min could answer, the door was pushed open. Song Qing-shu rushed in like a gust of wind. What happened? When he saw the scene in the room, he couldn't help but be dumbfounded. Zhao Min was lying on the ground, completely naked. Every inch of her skin was completely exposed to him. Her skin was sparkling and translucent like jade. Because she had just come out of the bath, there were still tiny droplets of water hanging on her skin. Under the illumination of the light, it was as if she was overflowing with light and vibrant colors. Her beauty was breathtaking. Perhaps it was because of the pain from the fall. Zhao Min's eyebrows were slightly furrowed at this moment, which made people feel pity for her. Half of the indigo phoenix's body was exposed outside the bathtub. She was so white that it was dazzling. Zhao Min's skin was as white as jade. The indigo phoenix's skin was as white as milk. Especially when her breasts were pressed against the edge of the bathtub, the exaggerated squeezing feeling was very impactful. Song Qing-shu felt hot at the tip of his nose. The nosebleed that he tried to suppress earlier finally flowed out. The three women in the room were dumbfounded. Originally, Zhou Zhuo just wanted to mess with Zhao Min to vent her anger, but she didn't expect that Zhao Min would scream so exaggeratedly when she fell. Song Qing-shu, who was guarding outside the room, thought that something had happened inside and hurriedly rushed in. Although on the surface, it seemed that Zhao Min was the one who suffered a loss when she was exposed, Zhou Zhuruo felt sour in her heart. It seemed that she was the one who suffered a loss. Zhao Min, on the other hand, stared blankly at the man in front of her, her mind completely blank. Although she and Song Qing-shu had an ambiguous relationship before, and there was no lack of physical contact, it had never been as unguarded in front of him as she was now. She wanted to scream. However, she realized that screaming could not make up for anything. Because she was too smart, countless thoughts surged in her mind at this moment. An incomparably complicated feeling filled her whole body, and she just stood there in a daze like she had lost her soul. The indigo phoenix had been through a lot. Even though her body was almost naked, she covered her chest and retreated back into the water after the initial shock. She calmed herself down and noticed that Song Qing-shu and Zhao Min were looking at each other. She couldn't help but laugh. "Prince Song, are you that good looking? You can't bear to move your eyes away after looking at me for so long?" Song Qing-shu came to his senses. He said embarrassedly, "Would you believe me if I said that I didn't do it on purpose?" The indigo phoenix giggled. "If you say so, then so be it." Zhou Zhuruo humphed with a black face. However, she knew that her husband couldn't be blamed. She regretted it. She shouldn't have messed with Zhao Min if she knew this would happen. Zhao Min finally recovered from her daze. She was embarrassed and annoyed when she realized that he had no intention of avoiding her. "You damn pervert, stinky pervert. Why are you still looking at me?" Song Qing-shu smiled. "I've already seen you anyway. What's the difference if I look at you more or less?" Zhao Min almost fainted from anger. She thought that there was such a shameless person in this world. Even though her relationship with Song Qing-shu wasn't clear, it wasn't to the point where they could face each other with sincerity. She struggled to get up. Unfortunately, the fall was too hard. Her bones felt like they were broken. She tried a few times, but she couldn't get up. Song Qing-shu noticed the fragrant pancreas on the ground and then looked at Zhou Zhuruo at the side. He could roughly guess what had happened in the room just now. He could not help but let out a bitter laugh. With a wave of his hand, the blanket on the bed was sucked into his hand. He walked in front of Zhao Min and gently covered her body. "Don't be agitated. I'll help you." Zhao Min didn't expect him to carry her in his arms in front of two other women, especially when one of them was Zhou Zhuruo. Feeling the strong, masculine aura, she was completely stunned. Her mind, which was usually full of wisdom, was blank at this moment. She could only hear the thumping of her heart. At this moment, she could no longer tell whether it was the other party's or her own. The indigo phoenix's red lips opened so wide that an egg could be stuffed inside. She was in awe as she looked at Hua Jinyao. Zhou Zhiruo couldn't take it anymore. She stood up. Qingshu, what are you doing? Song Qingshu smiled bitterly. I'm cleaning up for you. As he spoke, he gestured in the direction of the door. It turned out that the guests nearby had already been alarmed by the commotion. Some of them were already poking their heads out to see what was going on in the room. Naturally, he couldn't let others see Zhao Min's flawless body. Zhou Zhiruo bit her lips and appeared at the door in a flash. She glared at the people nearby with her beautiful eyes and said, "All of you scram." At this moment, she was extremely depressed in her heart. She was unable to describe the pain of lifting a rock only to smash her own foot to others. She could only transform into a ruthless 9-in white bone claw and claw out 5 deep finger holes on a nearby pillar to vent the depression in her heart. Frightened by this move of hers, the onlookers outside did not dare to stay nearby. One after another, they fled in terror. At this time, Song Qingshu had already carried Zhao Min and placed her on the bed. It was rare to see her reveal such a pitiful expression. His heart skipped a beat, and he couldn't help but lean forward to kiss her tender red lips. Zhao Min's eyes were wide open. She covered her mouth and couldn't believe it. She whispered, "Are you crazy?" She looked at the door. She heaved a sigh of relief when she saw that the other 2 ladies were blocked by Song Qingshu. They didn't see what was going on. "Yes, I'm crazy." Song Qingshu smiled and kissed her again. Zhao Min stared dumbfoundedly at the scene before her eyes. She finally came to her senses when the other party opened her mouth, and she fiercely bit down her pearly white teeth in a mixture of shame and anger. Song Qingshu seemed to have expected her to do this. He retreated in time and looked at her with a smile. Zhao Min's face turned red. She said bitterly, "Song, you're getting more and more of a bastard. What are you talking about?" Zhou Zhiruo came over. Chapter 1203. Is that so? Zhou Zhiruo looked at the 2 of them suspiciously. Zhao Min looked away guiltily. Thank you." Her tone was very strange, as if she had said it through gritted teeth. Seeing that she did not expose him, Song Qingshu could not help but feel very happy. He secretly winked at her and said, "Since there is nothing else, I will go out first. You guys rest well and conserve your energy. We have to hurry on the road tomorrow morning." Looking at Song Qingshu's back as he left, Zhao Min bit her teeth. She did not understand why she did not expose him in front of everyone. Instead, she had to cover for him. It was as if he was having an affair and was found out by his legal wife. As this thought suddenly flashed through her mind, Zhao Min felt a chill run down her spine. She hastily shook her head and dispelled those random thoughts. However, a smart person's brain couldn't stay idle. After a while, she seemed to have thought of something and became extremely depressed. Zhou Zhiruo originally thought that Zhao Min would come to settle the score with her for what she had done to her earlier. Who knew that after Song Qingshu left, she quietly curled up in her bed without saying a word. She was not at all like the high and mighty Mongolian princess. She was more like a Jiangnan girl, full of grievances. Indigo Phoenix also came out of the bathtub. She wiped her body and changed her clothes. She was also depressed. "I'm also a victim, okay? Why does no one care about my feelings?" The 3 women each had their own thoughts and quickly fell asleep. Song Qingshu, who was next door, could not sleep. He got up several times to go next door, but in the end he gave up. He could not help but sigh. As expected, 3 monks have no water to drink. The night passed uneventfully. Early the next morning, a group of people hurriedly left the inn on horseback and rushed to the northern battlefield. In the commander's tent of the Golden Snake Camp, Ajio and Xia Qingqing looked worried. "Qingqing, is there still no news of Song Qingqing?" Ajio rubbed his temples and said tiredly. To the side, Xia Qingqing shook her head. "I've already sent quite a few trusted aides to the Jiangnan area, but I haven't heard any news of him yet." Ajio held her hand as if he was comforting her and also comforting himself. No news is the best news. Song Lang's martial arts are high. He is quick-witted, and he has always been blessed. This time, he will definitely be able to turn misfortune into blessing. Xia Qingqing sighed. Agio, you're still the wisest. I'm already in a mess. Agio smiled bitterly and said, Isn't it the same for me? But if we lose Song Lang's foundation, how will I explain it to him when he returns safely in the future? After all, Agio was a princess of the Ming dynasty. The royal education she had received since she was a child had made her far more knowledgeable and magnanimous than an ordinary person. In addition, she had hanged herself on Chongzhen Coal Mountain. In this life, she had not only experienced the golden branches and jade leaves, but also experienced the fall of her country and the destruction of her family. Her heart had long since changed from weak to incomparably strong. You're right. Xia Qingqing wiped the corners of her eyes and tried to pull herself together, but she quickly said worriedly, Agio, how do you know his good fortune is deep? Agio couldn't help but reach out and touch her forehead. If he wasn't dead set on you, how could he have made you so dead set on him? Qingqing. Xia Qingqing originally looked at her with anticipation, but when she heard this answer, she couldn't help but blush. She said in annoyance, You're good, Agio. You used to be as pure as a little white flower, but now, under the influence of your man, you've actually become so bad. Agio giggled and said, Isn't my man also your man? Xia Qingqing's face reddened. After playing with her for a while, she couldn't help but quietly ask, If Brother Song really meets with some mishap, what will you do? Agio's expression became cold. I will take revenge for him and kill Li Kashio, Wan Chi-chun, Wan Gue, and the others. Then, I will go to the Yellow Springs to find him. I hope he won't drink Grandma Meng's soup so quickly. Xia Qingqing grabbed her hand and resolutely said, I'll accompany you. Aren't you worried about Brother Yuan's reputation? She and Agio were like sisters. How could she not know the knot in Xia Qingqing's heart? She would rather be Song Qingshu's secret lover than have their relationship be made public. That was to protect Yuan Chengji's reputation. Xia Qingqing bit her red lips. I've already experienced the pain of losing my true love once. I don't want to go through it a second time. I also don't have the courage to live alone in this world. Agio patted her hand to comfort her, but a thought surfaced in his mind. If Yuan Qingji and Song Qingshu were to fight on the road to the Yellow Springs, who would Xia Qingqing help? The two women poured out their worries and finally felt a bit better. Xia Qingqing then remembered that there was still business. Right now, Golden Snake Camp's morale is incomparably low. The possibility of defeating Li Kashio's army this time is very low, let alone killing him to take revenge for Brother Song. That's right. Agio also faintly sighed. It turned out that Song Qingshu was traveling all over the world. Golden Snake Camp was led by Agio who disguised himself as Song Qingshu. Normally, it was fine, but this time, the news of Song Qingshu being poisoned by the golden ripple flower had spread far and wide. Everyone in Golden Snake Camp began to suspect Agio's identity. Although the two women tried hard to suppress it, it had already caused panic and rumors to spread everywhere. Faced with Li Kashio's attacks, they had already lost several battles. Now, the defensive line was almost unable to hold. It's almost time. The generals are about to arrive. Let's get ready. Xia Qingqing reminded. As if to confirm her words, the generals of Golden Snake Camp quickly filed in. Those present were basically the core figures of Golden Snake Camp. A group of people began to discuss the next strategy. Very quickly, there was a disagreement. For some reason, the topic quickly shifted to Agio. The whole world is saying that the Golden Snake King has already died from poisoning in Yangzhou. I don't know which is real and which is fake, that Golden Snake King and this Golden Snake King. Everyone stared suspiciously at Agio. Last time I said it was just a rumor. What do you want to believe it? Do you want to compete with me again to see if I'm real or not? Agio said angrily. Although her martial arts were not as good as Song Qingshu's, it was more than enough to deal with these people. Hee, our martial arts skills are low. How can we test anything? It was unknown who said this first, but a large group of people followed suit. Xia Qingqing slammed the table. You have repeatedly doubted Big Brother Song's identity. What is your intention? We are not disrespectful to the Golden Snake King. We are just worried that the Golden Snake King has been harmed by a villain. In fact, he has already become someone's puppet. The group of people seemed to have secretly communicated with each other. Unexpectedly, their statements were unified. Who are you calling a villain? Xia Qingqing was already in a bad mood because Song Qingshu's whereabouts were unknown, so she immediately said angrily, "I'm not talking about you." The man laughed mischievously. Xia Qingqing was so angry that her chest heaved up and down, but she could not do anything. "What do I have to do to make you believe me?" Agio suddenly asked. The group of people looked at each other. Finally, one of them said, "It's very simple. Back then, the Golden Snake King called the wind and summoned the rain. He single-handedly wiped out the Qing Empire's cavalry. As long as you can call the wind and summon the rain again, we will believe you." Agio frowned. Although she had heard Song Qingshu mention the principle of calling the wind and summoning the rain, she had been confused from beginning to end. She had no idea what was going on. How could she replicate a miracle at this time? Xia Qingqing naturally understood her difficulties and hurriedly stepped forward to smooth things over. Summoning the wind and summoning the rain. The right time and the right place are all indispensable. How can it be done again just because you say so? Aren't you deliberately making things difficult for us? Prince Song has always been a man who creates miracles. We believe in him. The group of people were obviously unwilling to give in. Xia Qingqing was extremely depressed. She did not know whether to laugh or cry. Logically speaking, she was the former mistress of this group of people. In the past, they had treated her with great respect, but ever since Song Qingshu had single-handedly led everyone to annihilate the Qing dynasty's army of 100,000, his prestige had soared to unprecedented heights. This group of people followed Song Qingshu's every word and no longer paid any heed to her. This was why the news of Song Qingshu's accident had such a big blow to the Golden Snake Battalion's morale. Since the conditions for calling the wind and summoning the rain are so harsh, then please invite Prince Song to perform the sect returning swords at the Golden Snake Conference. Someone else suggested, which was immediately echoed by everyone. At the Golden Snake Conference, Song Qingshu's sect returning swords could be said to have amazed the audience, making everyone present unable to forget it forever. Agio bit her lip. For the first time, she somewhat blamed Song Qingshu for having so many heaven-defying abilities. She thought that her martial arts were quite good in Jianghu, but she could not even imitate one of his abilities. Xia Qingqing certainly knew that she did not know the sect returning swords. She once again helped her out. Sect returning swords is a killing move. How can it be used as a performance? What's more, every time this move is used, Brother Song's power will be greatly damaged. Now that the enemy is in front of us, how can we waste our power for no reason? Madame Yuan, why did you obstruct us time and time again? Could it be that there is some unspeakable secret? Everyone had long been suspicious of her. Seeing her jump out again, she immediately attracted a group of people's condemnation. Seeing that the crowd was agitated and the situation was gradually getting out of control, Agio smashed the table in front of her into pieces. She circulated her internal energy and shouted, "All right, stop quarreling. During the decisive battle tomorrow, I will lead a suicide squad to break into Li Kushio's central army and take the general rank out of the army. The crisis of the Golden Snake Camp will naturally be resolved." The big tent immediately fell into a brief silence. Very soon, exaggerated exclamations broke out. It was not that the act of taking the general rank out of the army had never occurred in history, but in the long river of history of 2,000 years, it had only happened 2 or 3 times. Moreover, every time it had been done with the right time, place, and people. Otherwise, no matter how high one's martial arts were or how brave one was on the battlefield, it was absolutely impossible to do it. However, the people of the Golden Snake Camp did not doubt Agio's words at all, because in their hearts, the Golden Snake King was an immortal-like figure, a man who constantly created miracles. If there was anyone in this world who could accomplish this feat, it was none other than him. After the end of the high-level meeting, Everyone finally left in satisfaction. After returning to their own tents, Xia Qingqing could no longer bear it. She pulled Ah Jiao and anxiously asked, "How could you boast like that? Taking the general rank out of the army? Isn't that something that will only lead to death?" Ah Jiao lightly said, "In that situation, if I didn't say that, the entire army's morale would have already collapsed. But what do you plan to do tomorrow? If you don't charge the formation, I'm afraid the army's morale will collapse even faster," Xia Qingqing said with a worried expression. "Of course I'm going to charge the formation," Ah Jiao lightly said. When it fell into Xia Qingqing's ears, it was like a bolt from the blue. "What?" Xia Qingqing suddenly stood up. Aren't you courting death?" Ah Jiao smiled slightly. "There are only two outcomes to charging the formation. Either I succeed by a fluke and avenge Song Lang, or I fail and die. If I can't avenge Song Lang, there's no point in living in this world. I'll just go down and accompany him." Chapter 1204. Ajio took off the mask on her face. Although she spoke lightly, her tone was filled with determination. Xia Qingqing couldn't help but feel deep respect for her. She had always thought of Ajio as someone with a weak temperament. She didn't expect that she was actually soft on the outside and hard on the inside. Heavenly Novel 2-inch Ajio, I'll always be with you. Xia Qingqing went over and hugged her tightly. Just as the two women were feeling dejected, a teasing voice suddenly came from the door. Although it's a bit difficult, it's not completely impossible to take the rank of general from among thousands of soldiers. Hearing that familiar voice, the two women's bodies trembled. They quickly turned around and saw a handsome man standing at the door with a faint smile. Who else could it be but Song Qing-shu? Song Lang, big brother Song. The two women's pretty faces revealed expressions of disbelief at first, but didn't take long before they finally reacted and rushed over. Song Qing-shu smiled and opened his arms, taking the two women into his embrace. "Did you miss me? You're so annoying," the two women pouted. Although they were already like sisters, they couldn't help but feel a bit embarrassed when they shared the same husband. Normally, they wouldn't have let Song Qing-shu hug them so easily. But this time, they were worried about his safety day and night. Now that they knew he was safe and sound, they were so excited that they forgot about it. Seeing the two women's delicate and fair skin, each with their own charm, Song Qing-shu's appetite was greatly aroused. He lowered his head and gave each of their faces a kiss. Ajio and Xia Qingqing frowned. After the initial surprise, they gradually regained their composure. They didn't know why, but this Song Qing-shu's body was filled with an unfamiliar aura. They subconsciously glanced at each other. The two women were like sisters, and during this period of time, they had long understood each other. They saw the same worry in each other's eyes and nodded without a trace. Then, they simultaneously grabbed Song Qing-shu's hands that were on their shoulders and attacked his ribs with their other hand. Their attacks were incomparably ruthless. They didn't have any of the tenderness and sweetness they had at the beginning. It was as if the other party was an irreconcilable enemy. His hand was bound, and it was a close-range attack. No matter how skilled he was, it would be difficult to defend against it. Song Qing-shu was clearly caught off guard, but at the critical moment, he twisted his body in an inconceivable fashion to avoid the two women's killing moves. Then he transferred his inner force to his wrist and shook off Ajio and Xia Qingqing's hands. His figure flashed, and he appeared on a nearby table. "Could it be that you two have an affair with a man? Are you trying to murder your own husband?" Song Qing-shu half squatted on the table and teased while guarding against the two women's next attack. "Hey!" Ajio spat with a red face. "Where did you come from? How dare you impersonate Song Lang?" As it turned out, as Song Qing-shu's lover, Ajio and Xia Qingqing were naturally aware of the existence of the miraculous art of disguise in this world. Compared to other defenseless women, they were much more vigilant. Once they sensed that something was wrong, they would immediately wonder if the other party was in disguise, unlike other women who were muddle-headed. After Ajio finished speaking, he and Xia Qingqing attacked together. The two women were first-rate experts in Jianghu, especially Ajio, who could be ranked among the top. In addition, They were familiar with each other, so when they worked together, their power more than doubled. Even though Song Qing-shu was skilled in martial arts, he was still forced into a fluster. With great difficulty, he managed to push back the two women's attacks. That Song Qing-shu hurriedly made a gesture to stop. Stop! How did you two beauties see through my disguise? Jiao and Xia Qingqing looked at each other and saw the bewilderment in each other's eyes. That person no longer deliberately disguised his voice as Song Qing-shu and revealed his original voice. It was clearly a woman's voice. Who are you? Xia Qingqing asked in a deep voice. She quickly went through all the disguise experts in Jianghu, but she still had no clue. Miss Qingqing, don't you remember me? That Song Qing-shu tore off the mask on her face, revealing a devastatingly beautiful face. However, she was different from ordinary beauties. Her temples were like clouds, and her phoenix-like eyes exuded a majestic aura. Compared to ordinary women, she was more heroic and domineering. Who else could it be but Dongfang Muxue? Miss Xue, Xia Qingqing exclaimed and hurriedly stopped Jiao beside her. Why are you here? She explained her identity to Jiao. So if it's Miss Xue, Jiao also put away his sword, showing a trace of surprise in his eyes. He had always known the existence of this woman and was very curious about what kind of extraordinary woman could make Song Qing-shu trust her so much and also be able to create havoc in the Forbidden City and control such a huge empire. Now that they finally met, she was really like an immortal. Ninth Princess. Dongfang Muxue returned to salute. Miss Xue is too polite. The heroic woman in front of him seemed to have an inexplicable aura, and Jiao couldn't help admiring her. Dongfang Muxue smiled slightly and asked curiously, How did you find out the flaw? I thought I disguised it flawlessly. Your breath is different from his. Jiao replied with a slightly red face. I see. Dongfang Muxue suddenly understood and looked at the two with a faint smile. You are very familiar with his breath. Jiao was still okay. After all, he was Song Qing-shu's official wife. On the contrary, Xia Qingqing was a little embarrassed. After all, she was Mrs. Yuan on the surface. She hurriedly changed the topic and asked, Miss Xue, why are you here? Can you leave the capital? I have to leave even if I can't. If the boy surnamed Song comes back and finds that his two beautiful lovers are in trouble, and I stand by and do nothing, it will be strange if he doesn't fall out with me. Dongfang Muxue let out a long sigh. Miss Xue, even Jiao couldn't stand it anymore. All right. Dongfang Muxue saw that the teasing was almost over and also became serious. She said with a dignified expression, According to the intelligence agency of the stick, the Golden Snake Camp's current situation is not optimistic. I combined all the information and deduced that the situation is worse than expected. I'm afraid that this side is already on the verge of collapse. So I arranged everything in the Forbidden City and came to see if there is anything I can help with. Jiao said worriedly. But the 3 border defenses are in full swing, and the situation in the Imperial Court is not optimistic. If you leave at this time and cause the 3 border defenses to become stronger, we will suffer more losses. She clearly regarded the Qing Court and the Golden Snake Camp as Song Qing-shu's property, which was why she kept saying we. Dongfang Muxue and Xia Qingqing did not reveal any strange expressions. It was obvious that the 3 girls had the same idea. Don't worry, I have arranged everything before I left. Fei Yin is there to take charge of the overall situation. In addition, I have promoted many very capable confidants to help me these past 2 years. It shouldn't be a big problem if I leave for a few days and return as soon as possible. Dongfang Muxue answered. Hearing her words, Jiao and Xia Qingqing finally noticed the travel-worn look on her face. It was almost 2,000 miles from the capital city to here, and she had to race against time. It was obvious how tiring it was to travel. What kind of person was Dongfang Muxue? She noticed the 2 women's expressions and instantly understood their thoughts. She couldn't help but smile and said, Don't worry, with my skills, this little tiredness is nothing. Let's talk about tomorrow's battle. Jiao laughed bitterly. It's all because I was too impulsive. If I had known that Miss Shui was coming, I would have delayed it a little. There should be a better way. Ninth Princess, your method may seem impulsive, but if you think about it carefully, it is the most effective way to solve the current problem. Dongfang Mushue comforted her, now that the Golden Snake Camp is in a state of panic due to the news of Song Qingshu's accident. Their morale is at an all-time low. It's almost certain that they will lose. Since that's the case, why not take a gamble? There might be a chance to turn the tables. Gio sighed. But in the midst of thousands of soldiers and horses, it's easier said than done to capture the ringleader. Xia Qingqing came forward and hugged her, saying softly, I will accompany you tomorrow. Dongfang Mushue suddenly said, Tomorrow, I will disguise myself as Song Qingshu and charge the battle. Gio was instantly shocked. How can you do that? Tomorrow's battle is certain to die. Moreover, this is my suggestion. How can I let you take the risk? Dongfang Mushue reached out and hooked Gio's soft and elegant chin, causing him to blush. Don't worry, if it was anyone else, they would definitely die, but I have a 30% chance of success. Gio frowned, as if organizing his thoughts. Miss Shui, although your martial arts are slightly better than mine, there is a limit. He was implying that he did not agree with Dongfang Mushue's words. Earlier on, they had exchanged blows, so Gio had a rough estimate of Dongfang Mushue's martial arts. Dongfang Mushue was first injured by Feng Qingyang's innate sword chi, and then by revered Ming's sneak attack. Although she managed to survive, she was still seriously injured. After such a long period of recuperation, she had only barely recovered about 40% of her peak strength. It was only because of her outstanding battle experience that she had a certain advantage over Gio. Dongfang Mushue explained, a battle on the battlefield is different from a martial arts competition in the pugilistic world. Now, our martial arts are indeed not much different, but Ninth Princess, you are of noble birth and have a kind nature. You lack sufficient killing intent, so it will be difficult for you to display your strength on the battlefield. You might not even be able to match up to a veteran soldier who has been on the battlefield for a long time. Gio fell silent, knowing that Dongfang Mushue's words were not false. Back when the Qing Kingdom had sent an army to encircle the Golden Snake Battalion, their group of experts had been trapped by a 100-man team. Dongfang Mushue continued, so the person who will charge the battle can only be me, but I will also need your help. Gio's eyes lit up. How can I help you? Chapter 1205. At this moment, Dongfang Mushue's face was brimming with a sense of pride, as if she was looking down on the entire world. If the opponent is a peerless general like Han Bai or Li Yu, I will definitely die no matter how hard I try. However, a merely Kashio will definitely not be able to command an army of 100,000 without revealing a single flaw. Therefore, although tomorrow's assault will be risky, it is not impossible to succeed. Xia Qingqing's eyes lit up. Miss Shui's analysis makes me feel confident about tomorrow. Gio frowned. I will find someone else to send the signal. I will accompany Miss Shui when the time comes. Xia Qingqing was about to say something when Dongfang Mushue shook her head. I'm a suspicious person. I have to make sure that the person who sends the signal is reliable. Then Qingqing will send the signal, and I will accompany you. Gio said hurriedly. Xia Qingqing exclaimed. No, Gio, you send the signal. I will accompany Miss Shui. You don't have to argue. Dongfang Mushue stopped the two. The situation on the battlefield changes rapidly. Ordinary people can't accurately judge which direction to charge in. Ninth Princess, you are from the royal family and have experienced many battles. You are more suitable than Qingqing to send the signal. Xia Qingqing nodded and agreed. Gio, I can lead a motley crew to fight in the pugilistic world. You will be the one to command the army. Gio bit his lips. Clearly, he had made up his mind. All right, I'll give you a signal tomorrow. If anything happens to you, I'll come down and accompany you. Gio, Xia Qingqing was so touched that her eyes turned red. Dongfang Mushue's eyes flashed when she saw the deep love between the two sisters. Although she spoke in a dignified manner, she didn't say the most fundamental reason. She could only make Xia Qingqing accompany her when Ajio was commanding from above. Dongfang Muxue didn't think much of Yuan Qingji's death on Mount Tai. She didn't think much of it and killed him. Who knew that she and Xia Qingqing would become sisters? Although Xia Qingqing didn't know that Miss Shui was invincible east, there was no such thing as an impenetrable wall. She would find out the truth sooner or later. Who knew what would happen then? As the sect leader of the Sun Moon sect for many years, Dongfang Muxue had long developed a ruthless and decisive personality. She decided to nip all dangers in the bud as soon as possible, and this charge was the perfect opportunity. Charging straight into the middle of the enemy's army on the battlefield was already a matter of life and death. At that time, if Xia Qingqing accidentally died on the battlefield, no one would think that she was behind it. It could be said that no one would know. Xia Qingqing was completely unaware of the impending disaster. After calming themselves down with Ajio, they discussed with Dongfang Muxue what secret signal to use the next day. First, they suggested using flags, but it was quickly rejected by Dongfang Muxue. When the time came, the battlefield would be extremely dangerous and the opportunity would be fleeting. After much discussion, they finally decided to use the sound of war drums as a signal. The volume of the drum, the length of the interval, and the different combinations had different meanings. If Song Qingshu was here, he would definitely be surprised that these three women had actually come up with something similar to Morse code. Early the next morning, Golden Snake Camp and Li Kuxio's Green Camp confronted each other on a plain. The battle was imminent. It could be said that Li Kuxio had turned out in full force this time. He had brought a total of 80,000 Green Camp soldiers, all of whom were carefully selected. The old, the weak, the sick, and the disabled were left behind to guard the rear. Therefore, these people were full of fighting spirit and were in good order. On the other hand, the Golden Snake Camp was, after all, a group of Lulin bandits. Their military discipline was innately inferior to that of the regular army. Originally, after 2 years of serious management by Song Qingshu, Ajio, and Xia Qingqing, the fighting strength of the troops under their command was increasing day by day. Unfortunately, the news of Song Qingshu's death from poisoning in Yangzhou had spread like wildfire. From top to bottom, everyone in the Golden Snake Camp was terrified. Coupled with suspicion, their morale had already fallen to the bottom. The Golden Snake Camp was mainly made up of Jianghu bandits. The advantages and disadvantages were obvious. Once their morale was high, they were all starving wolf cubs. Once they lost their morale, they were defeated like a landslide and had no fighting strength at all. Li Kuxio, who was in charge of the Central Army, couldn't help but laugh out loud when he saw the dispirited soldiers on the opposite side. He pointed to the generals around him and said, "This group of disorderly people, one charge will be able to break their formation. Then, we will have to rely on everyone to chase after them. We must completely destroy the Golden Snake Camp. When the time comes, the land of Shandong will be in my pocket. The Admiral is invincible in battle and victorious in attack. Congratulations to the Admiral. Even if Sun Wu came back to life, or Bai Zhonglin came back to life, I'm afraid they wouldn't do better than the Admiral." The group of generals was obviously very optimistic about the outcome of this battle. They all crazily flattered Li Kuxio. The result is not yet known. Everyone still needs to work hard. Although Li Kuxio said this, he couldn't suppress the smile on his face. Obviously, these flattery made him feel very comfortable. Although it was very risky to plot to kill Song Qingshu, the result was still very rich. First, he allied with the Southern Song dynasty and became the Southern Song dynasty's imperial uncle. If his daughter really became the empress, it would be even more perfect. Second, he took advantage of the situation and annexed the Golden Snake Camp. His territory instantly doubled, and the troops under his command could also increase to hundreds of thousands. Looking at the world, he could completely compete with the surrounding countries and sit on equal footing. Thinking of this, Li Kuxio's mood immediately surged. He waved his hand to signal his subordinates to start the general attack. The front lines of both sides collided. Not long after, The Golden Snake Camp's formation showed signs of collapse. Li Ka-shio saw this clearly. He sneered and commanded the reserve troops to continue to attack the gap that had been torn open. He wanted to finish the battle in one fell swoop. Seeing that the Golden Snake Camp was about to be defeated, a cavalry suddenly rushed out from the side and charged into Li Ka-shio's army. The person in the lead was wearing a sinister bronze mask. Everywhere he passed, no one was a match. All the Green Camp soldiers in front of this person were like the first snow meeting the blazing sun. They were all turned to ashes. Every single one of the cavalrymen seemed to have a fierce and resolute aura about them. Both sides quickly noticed the situation here, and both sides quickly noticed the situation here. Golden Snake King, that's the Golden Snake King. Someone on the battlefield roared. The soldiers of Golden Snake Camp, who were on the verge of collapse, seemed to have been injected with chicken blood. They forcibly blocked the tide-like attacks of Li Ka-shio's troops and stood firm in front of them. Golden Snake King? Li Ka-shio sneered. He had clearly noticed this special cavalry. Song Qing-shu died long ago in Yangzhou. I don't know where this imposter came from, but he still wants to attack the root of the problem? Li Ka-shio was a veteran of the battlefield, after all. Although he knew that the other party was fake, he did not let his guard down. He hurriedly ordered the corresponding troops to surround the lone cavalry. Let me personally crush the last hope of the Golden Snake Camp. Following Li Ka-shio's arrangement, the cavalry's irresistible momentum indeed slowed down. The surrounding Green Camp soldiers increased. Although there would inevitably be a group of Green Camp soldiers falling with a wave of the hand of the bronze mask, there were too many enemies. Gradually, the pace of the assault slowed down. It was like a fierce tiger falling into a swamp. It could only struggle in vain. Dong! Dong dong! Dong dong dong! At this moment, a burst of impassioned drumming suddenly came from the Golden Snake Camp. The rhythm of the drumming was so special that it was completely unlike ordinary war drums. Normally, even the most powerful drummer would not be able to clearly transmit the sound of the drum to the ears of everyone on the battlefield. However, this drum sound did it, and it seemed to be mixed with a strange magic power. Everyone felt their hearts pounding, as if the blood in their body was beginning to boil. It's the ninth princess. It really is the ninth princess. The officers and soldiers of the Golden Snake Camp cheered one after another. They saw a woman in fluttering white like a fairy from the ninth heaven waving the drumsticks in the middle of the formation. Waves of drumming spread in all directions. Everyone who saw this scene became absent-minded for a moment. In their hearts, this kind of fairy-like young girl should play the flute to match her temperament, and something like beating the drum should be left to the fierce-looking, curly-bearded man. But for some reason, at this moment, when they saw Audiobook beating the drum in the array, they didn't feel the slightest bit out of place. The bronze-masked person seemed to have been waiting for the drumming. When she heard the sound, her whole body trembled and she shouted, "Over here!" Then she raised her saber and charged towards a certain place in the southeast. With a wave of her hand, another large group of Green Camp soldiers fell. Demonic magic. This person knows demonic magic. The Green Camp soldiers did not see that he had a weapon in his hand, but their companions fell inexplicably one after another. They were all inexplicably terrified. Someone shouted. Wherever the bronze-masked rider went, the formation of the Green Camp showed signs of collapse. This cavalry was naturally the Suicide Squad, led by Dongfang Muxue. She had mastered the Sunflower Treasure Manual and was so fast that using any weapon would slow her down. She was most comfortable with the embroidery needle. She had made preparations for this trip south and had prepared thousands of embroidery needles. Although she was injured and her cultivation was greatly damaged, it did not affect her against some ordinary soldiers. Although the Green Camp soldiers were fully armored, Dongfang Mushue's embroidery needles were aimed at their eyes. So what if they were armored? Therefore, under the guidance of the drumming, the heavy army was forced to open a bloody path. This cavalry was like a god descending from the heavens, charging left and right in the battlefield. The 80,000 Green Camp soldiers could not stop them. Seeing that the cavalry was getting closer, Li Ka-shio also panicked. She hurriedly used all her backup cards and ordered them to stop the murderous cavalry. Chapter 1206. Dongfang Muxue blinded a few more green camp soldiers blocking her way. She looked in the direction of Li Kaxiu and saw that the commander's flag was only a few hundred steps away from her. Her mind raced, and she decided to use the suicide squad behind her to distract the enemy while she rushed over with her qinggong. Perhaps she could really kill the flag and seize the commander's position. Heavenly Novel 2, just as he was about to move, he suddenly heard a cry of alarm from behind him. He turned around and saw that Xia Qingqing's mount had been shot. It whimpered and fell to the ground. Xia Qingqing was caught off guard and also fell. Seeing that a few spears were aimed at her, Dongfang Muxue's eyes narrowed. Although she had the strength to help, she did not do anything and just watched from the side. At the critical moment, Xia Qingqing pushed off the ground with the tip of her foot. Like a drunken concubine, she used the strength of her waist to forcibly stop her upper body in midair and dodge the spears. Then, with a flash of golden light, she swung her golden snake sword and forced those people back. The flexibility of this small waist, TSK, I wonder how many positions it can unlock. That Song Qing Shu is really lucky with women. Dongfang Muxue didn't know why she would have such a thought at such a critical moment. Seeing more green camp soldiers rushing towards her, Dongfang Muxue sneered. She knew that she would soon be drowned in the sea of people. Just as she was about to leave, she heard Xia Qingqing's voice. "Miss Shui, don't worry about me. Hurry and catch Li Kaxiu." It turned out that she had noticed Dongfang Muxue looking in her direction and thought that she was going to save her. Dongfang Muxue frowned. If Xia Qingqing had called for help, she would have ignored her and left. However, the current situation made her hesitant. Seeing that Dongfang Muxue was stunned, Xia Qingqing panicked. She threw out a few golden snake spikes and killed a few soldiers who were planning to sneak up on her. "Miss Shui, hurry and leave." Dongfang Muxue seemed to have woken up from a dream. She snorted and used her qinggong to rush towards the commander's flag. "Miss Shui, take good care of Qingshu in the future." Looking at her leaving figure, Xia Qingqing had a smile of relief on her face. She used the last of her strength to shout. She no longer had the strength to deal with the spears coming at her from all directions. Hearing the voice behind her, Dongfang Muxue paused and showed a painful expression. Finally, she gritted her teeth and went back, pulling Xia Qingqing back from the jaws of death. "Why did you come back?" Xia Qingqing's face did not reveal the joy of escaping. Instead, she was a bit angry because she could see that there was clearly hope just now. Now that the opportunity was fleeting, it was probably impossible to catch Li Kaxiu again. "I didn't know why I came back." Dongfang Muxue snorted coldly. She would never admit that she was a soft-hearted person. After thinking for a long time, she finally found a reason to convince herself. Although my plan of killing with a borrowed knife can deceive everyone in the world, that brat Song Qingshu is as cunning as a ghost and will definitely guess the truth. There's no need to hold a grudge against him for a pretty widow, Dongfang Muxue snorted. She would never admit that she was a soft-hearted person. After thinking for a long time, she finally found a reason to convince herself. Although my plan to kill with a borrowed knife can deceive everyone, Song Qingshu is as cunning as a ghost. He will definitely guess the truth. There is no need to hold a grudge against him for a beautiful widow. Dongfang Muxue comforted herself and continued to kill in Li Kaxiu's direction with Xia Qingqing. Unfortunately, after this delay, Li Kaxiu's troops had already reacted. More and more people surrounded them. After fighting for an unknown period of time, Dongfang Muxue and Xia Qingqing could no longer see any of their comrades. There were only enemies in all directions. How could they not know that the entire Dare-to-Die cavalry had already been annihilated? "Miss Shui, your qinggong is good. Find a chance to escape. I will cover you." Xia Qingqing and Dongfang Muxue stood back to back. Xia Qingqing gritted her teeth and said she could not muster up any strength and knew that she could not hold on for much longer. However, Dongfang Muxue was different. Although it was impossible to assassinate Li Kashio, she still had a chance to escape. Escape? Dongfang Mushue snorted and said proudly, I have roamed the pugilistic world for my entire life. It is a great humiliation to escape once. How can I escape a second time? She saw venerated Ming's sneak attack at Blackwood Cliff as a great humiliation. She swore that she would never allow herself to be in such a pathetic state again. Xia Qingqing was shocked by the change in Dongfang Mushuefang's temperament. She seemed to have sensed someone she did not want to remember. She quickly shook her head. How could Miss Xue be Dongfang Bubi? Dongfang Mushue did not know what Xia Qingqing was thinking. She forced back the green camp soldiers again. Suddenly, her expression changed. Her body was in turmoil. It turned out that she was injured by Feng Qingyang's Xiantian sword Qi and was hit by venerated Ming's full-force attack. If she was an ordinary expert, she would have died many times. Fortunately, she was Dongfang Bubi, who looked down on the world in the past. She relied on her profound internal energy to survive. However, the price she paid was only 30 to 40% of her peak strength. At the same time, she had to use part of her internal energy to suppress the injuries in her body. She had been fighting for so long. Her internal energy was exhausted and her life was hanging by a thread several times. How could she pay attention to the specific situation in her body? Unknowingly, the internal energy she used to suppress her injuries was used by her. By the time she reacted, all her injuries had exploded. It was like a flood that had been stopped by a dam. Once the dam collapsed, the flood would multiply. Dongfang Mushue's internal injuries had been suppressed by her powerful internal energy. She had long been filled with anger. Now that she had the chance to retaliate, she was naturally unstoppable. Dongfang Mushue spat out a mouthful of blood. She felt all her strength leaving her. Her meridians felt like they were being stabbed by knives. Miss Xue, what's wrong? Xia Qingqing was shocked when she felt Dongfang Mushue's body turn soft like cotton. Unfortunately, Dongfang Mushue did not even have the strength to speak now. The soldiers nearby saw the opportunity and rushed forward. Xia Qingqing's vision had already darkened, and she felt like she was going to fall asleep the moment she closed her eyes. Seeing this, she gritted her teeth and bit her lips so hard that they bled. She used the pain in exchange for a brief moment of consciousness. Xia Qingqing used the golden snake sword to cut off a few spears that were aimed at Dongfang Mushue. She felt dizzy and no longer had the strength to stand up. She could only watch helplessly as the group of green camp soldiers surged forward again. The gleaming spears were inches away from her. Xia Qingqing subconsciously hugged Dongfang Mushue tightly in her arms. There was only one thought left in her mind. I wonder if the spears will hurt when they pierce into my body. Just as the group of soldiers raised their spears and were about to turn the two girls in the center of the circle into candied haws, a divine weapon filled with sword Qi suddenly descended from the sky. The scattered sword Qi caused the group of soldiers to be unable to withstand it any longer. Their armors were shattered into pieces, and they all fell to the ground. When the dust settled, an extraordinarily handsome man appeared in front of the two girls. Brother Song. Xia Qingqing's eyes widened in disbelief. Her voice was choked with sobs. Although Dongfang Mushue could not speak due to her internal injuries, her eyes were still shining brightly as she looked at his back. I'm sorry I'm late. Song Qingshu helped the two women up. He was curious about the identity of the person wearing the bronze mask, so he took off her mask and said in surprise, It's actually you. Are you surprised? Dongfang Mushue finally managed to squeeze out a sentence. Her hoarse voice showed that her current condition was not optimistic. Surprised indeed, Song Qingshu smiled and quickly checked her condition. He frowned slightly, but soon relaxed. Don't worry, leave the rest to me. Dongfang Mushue nodded with a smile. She seemed to have absolute trust in him. At this moment, there was a sudden burst of cheers from the direction of the Golden Snake Camp. It turned out that the entire Golden Snake Camp had always regarded the bronze-masked Dongfang Mushue as their leader. Seeing that she was unstoppable, The entire golden snake camp seemed to explode. Seeing that she was gradually drowned by the green camp soldiers, the entire golden snake camp was like a silent war. Everywhere was shrouded in a kind of despair. Now that the real Song Qing-shu had descended from the heavens, the golden snake camp, after a short period of silence, suddenly burst into a tsunami of cheers, as though the suppressed emotions had finally been released. Song Qing-shu, Li Keqiu, who was far away, also saw the scene and couldn't help but sway. He's not dead. In that instant, all sorts of negative emotions surged in her heart. Fortunately, Li Keqiu had a strong will and didn't collapse on the spot. If I can let you die once, I can naturally let you die a second time. Li Keqiu couldn't back down now. She hurriedly passed down the order that anyone who could kill Song Qing-shu would be promoted 3 ranks and 10,000 taels of gold. With a great reward, there would definitely be brave men. When the green camp soldiers heard the order, their eyes glowed green and they rushed over while howling. Song Qing-shu hugged Xia Qingqing with his left hand and Dongfang Muxue with his right. Seeing them rush over, he kicked with the tip of his foot. The heavenly sword in the middle immediately spun rapidly like a cutting machine, emitting extremely sharp sword chi. A large number of the soldiers around him collapsed. With the 3 of them as the center, no green camp soldiers dared to come within a radius of several zhang. Song Qing-shu then asked the 2 girls, "How did you end up in such a dangerous situation?" Being held in his arms, Xia Qingqing was already drowning in happiness. When she heard his question, she regained her senses and said, "We plan to rush straight to the center of the army to see if we could capture the ringleader first." She then explained the situation of the Golden Snake Battalion and their plan. Finally, she sighed faintly and said, "It's a pity that Miss Shui failed at the last step in order to save me. Now that Li Keqiu is heavily guarded, it's no longer possible to ambush him. Your plan is very beautiful." As for Li Keqiu, Song Qing-shu glanced at the green camp's commander flag. Although the 2 sides were only a few hundred meters apart, there were tens of thousands of soldiers between them. The guards around him could be said to be impregnable. Even Dongfang Muxue was about to persuade him to take the opportunity to retreat and come up with a plan when she heard Song Qing-shu continue. Taking the rank of general from the midst of tens of thousands of soldiers is as easy as taking something out of your pocket. Before the 2 girls could react, a soul-stirring poem from the Tang dynasty rang out on the battlefield. Guests of the Zhao dynasty were the tassel of a beard. Chapter 1207. Silver Saddle, Shining, White Horse. Song Qing-shu obviously did not use any strength to shout. He was only reciting the poem calmly. However, in this huge battlefield, everyone on the battlefield could hear every word he recited clearly. It was as if they were trembling from the depths of their souls. Song Qing-shu held Xia Qingqing in one hand and Dongfang Muxue in the other. As he stepped out, the air seemed to be solid and ripples appeared under his feet. How is this possible? Everyone on the battlefield looked up in disbelief. They were so shocked that they trembled. Not to mention the others. Even Dongfang Muxue was dumbfounded. She had always boasted that her lightness skill was one of the best in the Jianghu. Although Song Qing-shu's lightness skill was powerful, it was almost on par with her when she was at her peak. But now, she could not believe her eyes. If one was opportunistic, the top experts in the Jianghu could create the illusion that they were walking on the moon. She had seen Feng Xingyang do it during the battle at the top of the Forbidden City. But that could only be done from top to bottom, and the speed had to be extremely fast. How could it be like Song Qing-shu, who was walking from bottom to top, as if he was taking a stroll in the courtyard? This was no longer lightness skill. It was a miracle. Dongfang Muxue knew clearly that even all the lightness skill experts in the Jianghu combined would not be able to do this, let alone herself. Xia Qingqing, who was at the side, did not think as much as Dongfang Muxue. She was simply enjoying the dizziness of happiness. She thought that she was going to die, but her lover descended from the sky to save her. He even carried her in such a flashy way in front of hundreds of thousands of people. She felt that she was about to faint. She just wanted to snuggle in her lover's arms. But suddenly, she thought that in the eyes of the world, she was still Madame Yuan. If she curled up in another man's arms, how would that be? But this trace of hesitation was immediately thrown to the back of her mind. At this moment, her maiden heart was overflowing, and her eyes were full of hearts. If I die, then die. Xia Qingqing bit her lip. She didn't care so much anymore and directly hugged her lover. Half of her body was in his embrace. On top of a mountain far away, Zhou, Zhuo, Zhao Min, and Indigo Phoenix were sitting on their horses and looking into the distance. Even though they were so familiar with Song Qing Shu, they still couldn't help but shiver. The Supreme Mystery Sutra is so miraculous. Out of everyone present, only Zhou Zhuo knew what was going on. However, her shock was soon replaced by a sour feeling in her heart. Seeing her husband appear in front of hundreds of thousands of people in such a flashy manner while holding other women in his arms, she regretted not following him. Zhao Min's beautiful eyes widened as she stared at Song Qing Shu, who looked like an immortal descending from the heavens. Her eyes were complicated. Indigo Phoenix, who was next to her, was more direct. She exclaimed in her heart, "Prince Song is really TSK. I would be willing to sleep with a man like him for nothing." Hearing what she said, Zhao Min couldn't help but think that the women of the Miao family were more passionate and unrestrained than the Mongolians. She seemed to be right. If it were me, I would be willing to sleep with him for nothing as well. Zhao Min's pretty face instantly blushed. She secretly looked at Zhou Zhuo, who was next to her. Seeing that she didn't notice anything strange, she sighed in relief. Unknowingly, Song Qing Shu and the other two were standing dozens of feet high in the sky, looking down at Li Kaxiu, who was diagonally below. Li Kaxiu felt chills all over her body when he looked at her. Her limbs were icy cold. She quickly shouted, "Release the arrows, release the arrows. This is just a distraction." He knew clearly that he had betrayed Song Qing Shu in Yangzhou and almost caused him to die of poison. Both of them were sworn enemies, and Song Qing Shu would never let him go. Unfortunately, no matter how much he shouted, none of the Green Camp soldiers moved. They were all still immersed in this godly skill. The people of this world were much more superstitious and ignorant. Now, they only thought that Song Qing Shu was a deity who had descended to earth. They were afraid of offending the deity, so how would they dare to move? However, Li Kaxiu had been leading the army for many years. After all, he still had many loyal subordinates. After he urged them again and again, finally, a group of Imperial guards pulled their bows and aimed at the three people in the sky. Noticing the movement below, Song Qing Shu smiled disdainfully. Like a shooting star, the three people in the sky seemed to have turned into shooting stars. In an instant, they rushed from dozens of meters high to the ground. The rain of arrows from Li Kaxiu's subordinates all missed. Kill one in 10 steps. Song Qing Shu swung the heavenly sword in his hand. A monstrous sword aura surged out, and the surrounding air seemed to solidify. 1,000 miles invincible. When he regained his footing, blood sprayed from the necks of the Imperial guards who were guarding Li Kaxiu. One by one, they fell to the ground, leaving Li Kaxiu standing alone on the battlefield. Li Kaxiu was scared out of his wits. He wanted to turn around and run, but unfortunately, his legs were so weak that they would not listen to him. He could not even take a step forward. "Wait for me here," Song Qing Shu whispered to the two women. He then let go of their arms and appeared in front of Li Kaxiu in an instant. He grabbed him and flew to the commander's flag. He grabbed him by the neck and lifted him high in the air. His sharp eyes swept across the battlefield, and he said calmly, "Those who surrender will be spared from death." Although Song Qing Shu's voice was flat, everyone on the battlefield felt as if their souls were shaken. Looking at Li Kaxiu in his hands, who looked like a dead chicken, the tens of thousands of soldiers of the Green Camp looked at each other. No one knew who took the lead, but more and more people dropped their weapons and knelt before him. "Golden Snake King! Golden Snake King!" Voices rose and fell. In the end, whether it was the soldiers of the Green Camp or the Golden Snake Camp, All of them knelt on the ground and offered their highest respect. This scene was destined to be recorded in the annals of history. At the same time, it would be unforgettable for Zhao Min and the others. The battle ended just like that. Song Qingshu didn't kill Li Keqiu. Firstly, Li Keqiu was the leader of the Jianghuai region. He was more valuable alive than dead. Secondly, Li Keqiu was Li Yuanji's father. Although Li Keqiu betrayed Song Qingshu, Li Yuanji had been very good to him from beginning to end. She did not hesitate to save him in Yangzhou and gave him her maiden body in linen. How could Song Qingshu let her be sad for the rest of her life based on these two things? Of course, he could be spared from death, but he could not escape punishment. Song Qingshu sent people to lock Li Keqiu up. He would probably never see the light of day again in this lifetime. Xia Qingqing suddenly ran over when he was dealing with the matter of incorporating the Jiangnan Green Camp. She said with a sobbing tone, "Brother Song, quickly go see Lady Shui. She's dying." She had only met Dongfang Muxue once in the imperial palace, and their relationship could not be considered close. However, the two of them had experienced life and death together, and Dongfang Muxue had saved her life several times. In her heart, she had long regarded her as a sister. Song Qingshu was shocked. He then remembered Dongfang Muxue's internal injuries. He quickly handed over the matter at hand to his subordinates and rushed to Dongfang Muxue's tent. Zhao Min and the other girls were already in the tent. Among them, Zhou Zhuo and Ajio were the tallest. They were desperately transferring vital energy into Dongfang Muxue's body. Indigo Phoenix paced back and forth anxiously. Zhao Min finally could not take it anymore. "Sister Lan, don't walk around like this. Not only will it not help, but it will also disturb their recovery." "I didn't think it through." Indigo Phoenix stopped and looked at Dongfang Muxue's pale face worriedly. Zhao Min sized up the immortal-like figure on the couch. She was secretly startled. How come Song Qingshu is surrounded by women who can bring calamity to the country and people? Who is she? It seems like she has an unusual relationship with Song Qingshu. Zhao Min was not as worried as the other girls. After all, she did not know Dongfang Muxue. She was not a compassionate Virgin Mary. Why would she worry for a woman who had nothing to do with her? Moreover, Dongfang Muxue could be her potential love rival. She was already giving her face by not clapping her hands. Other than Xia Qingqing and Indigo Phoenix, Ajio should be the other person who was worried about Dongfang Muxue. If Dongfang Muxue had not replaced her, she could have been the one lying here. Ajio did not know the cause of Dongfang Muxue's injury. He only thought that she was seriously injured while charging. Zhou Zhuo's feelings were very complicated. She had always treated Dongfang Muxue as a strong rival. Seeing that Dongfang Muxue's life was hanging by a thread, she was even secretly delighted. However, Dongfang Muxue was related to the overall situation in the Forbidden City. If anything happened to her, Song Qingshu's good situation in the Qing dynasty would be ruined. Moreover, she was injured because of Song Qingshu's career. Zhou Zhuo was not a ruthless and heartless woman. She quickly got rid of the distracting thoughts and focused on healing Dongfang Muxue. Unfortunately, the inner energy that she and Ajio transferred was like a clay ox in the ocean. There was no reaction at all. Just when she was at her wit's end, Song Qingshu finally rushed over. "Prince Song, you must save my master's life." Indigo Phoenix knelt in front of Song Qingshu. After witnessing such a miracle, she knew that there was nothing in this world that Song Qingshu could not do. "Master," Xia Qingqing, who was standing at the side, was shocked. She finally noticed her dressing style and frowned slightly. Song Qingshu nodded and came to the side of the bed. He stretched out his hand to check on Dongfang Muxue's injury. Qingshu, Lady Shui, Zhou Zhuo, and Ajio spoke one after another, explaining the strangeness of her body. "We don't know why, but we've injected so much inner energy into her, but Lady Shui's injuries haven't improved at all. She did not suffer from ordinary internal injuries." Song Qingshu explained. Her meridians were injured by the innate sword qi. Later on, she was ambushed by revered Ming. He attacked her with all his might. She only managed to survive because of her profound inner energy. This time, when she attacked Li Kushio's army, she used too much strength and caused her old injuries to backfire. Therefore, your usual healing method is useless. Xia Qingqing, who was standing at the side, turned pale. She mumbled, "The innate sword qi injured her meridians? Revered Ming?" There were only a handful of experts in this world who could use the innate sword qi. Moreover, she knew that Revered Ming was Zhang Wuji. Dongfang Bubi had been thrown off the cliff by Zhang Wuji. Lady Shue's identity was obvious. Chapter 1208. After answering the lady's questions, Song Qingshu used the Yiyang finger to seal a few major acupuncture points on Dongfang Mushua's body. With the help of his vigorous inner energy, Dongfang Mushue finally regained consciousness. Heavenly novel, you should know the condition of your injuries. You have to save them as soon as possible. Otherwise, even the gods won't be able to save you, Song Qingshu said as he transferred his inner energy to her. Dongfang Mushue closed her eyes to feel her injuries. She smiled bitterly and said, "The meridians in my body are in a mess now. I'm afraid even the gods won't be able to save me now." The indigo phoenix wailed and knelt in front of the bed. "Master, don't be discouraged. Prince Song is still here. He's a god." She had always respected Dongfang Mushue as a god. Since she said that, there was no way she could be saved. Her only hope was on Song Qingshu. "Little Phoenix, there's a limit to one's strength. You can't force it." Dongfang Mushue patted the indigo phoenix's head. She looked at her lovingly. However, such a simple action made her cough because of her injuries. Song Qingshu had a weird expression on his face. He wondered what was the relationship between Dongfang Mushue and the indigo phoenix. Why did he smell the sour scent of love? Dongfang Mushue's awareness was very advanced, and the indigo phoenix was very loyal to her. Seeing the indigo phoenix hugging Dongfang Mushue and crying, Xiaomin couldn't help but cough. Brother Qingshu said that her injuries are more serious. He didn't say that she can't be saved. "Why do you guys look like you're making funeral arrangements?" Xiaomin had always been smart and a bystander. She had already guessed what was going on from Song Qingshu's reaction. "Prince Song, is there really a way to save her?" The indigo phoenix turned to Song Qingshu with tears in her eyes. Song Qingshu glared at Xiaomin, who had spoiled his plans, and nodded. He came to Dongfang Mushue and said, "I have two ways to save you now. It depends on which one you are willing to accept." Dongfang Mushue chuckled. "I'm about to die, so why would I be so picky? Anything is fine. Listen to me first. It's not too late to decide later." Song Qingshu had a strange expression on his face. The first method is to use the solitary sun finger to open up all the meridians in your body. However, there are two problems with this method. First, your injuries are too severe, and I will consume a lot of my inner force. I'm afraid that I won't be able to fight for several years. Second, although you will be able to keep your life, it will be very difficult for you to return to your peak. Before he could finish, Dongfang Mushue interrupted, "There's no need to say anything else, just choose." Song Qingshu was stunned. "Don't you want to hear what it is?" "I know what it is." Dongfang Mushue's expression was a little strange. "Don't forget who sent you to Tubo." Seeing that his little trick was seen through, Song Qingshu was also a little embarrassed. Dongfang Mushue, on the other hand, comforted him. "This is a crucial time for you to start your business. If you can't fight for several years, it will be too fatal. Moreover, I don't want to become a cripple after I recover. You don't have to worry. I've been mentally prepared for this day. Previously, you weren't strong enough. Now, your cultivation is even stronger than mine when I was at my peak." She didn't finish her sentence, but her meaning was clear. "What are you guys talking about?" Zhao Min was confused. "What exactly is it?" At the side, Ajio's face turned red. Clearly, he recalled the scene of Song Qingshu saving him all those years ago, and he hurriedly said, "Qingshu, properly treat Lady Shue's injuries. I won't disturb the two of you." As he spoke, he walked out of the tent. When he passed by Xia Qingqing, he reached out to pull her. Qingqing, let's go. Unexpectedly, Xia Qingqing didn't react at all. Instead, she stared fixedly at Dongfang Muxue on the bed. Qingqing, a life is at stake. Now is not the time to be jealous. Ajiu lowered his voice and comforted her. He thought that her abnormal behavior was due to jealousy. Moreover, Lady Shui saved you on the battlefield. Xia Qingqing bit her lip. Her expression was complicated. In the end, she was still pulled away by Ajiu. Although Zhou Zhiruo hadn't experienced it personally like Ajiu, she and Song Qingshu were husband and wife. Naturally, she knew the healing effects of the Zen of Joy. Seeing that Ajiu had left, she couldn't stay in the tent any longer. She could only stand up and bid farewell. Qingshu, I'll leave Lady Shui to you. Although she was a little jealous, she knew what was important and naturally wouldn't throw a tantrum at this juncture. Seeing them leave one by one, Zhao Min, who had been sitting on a stool and watching the show, was confused. What are you guys doing? Why are all of you acting so mysteriously? Zhou Zhiruo snorted coldly and pulled her out. Ouch, 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 it hurts. Zhou Zhiruo. They're doing this on purpose, right? Be gentle, hearing the faint voices coming from outside the tent. Dongfang Muxue had a strange smile on her face. Looks like your wife is very jealous. Song Qingshu smiled bitterly. It's normal to be a little emotional. However, she didn't say anything. Don't think too much about it. Dongfang Muxue nodded. She does have some of the bearing of the Eastern Palace mistress. Indigo Phoenix was worried about her master's injuries and didn't want to stay and disturb the two. She quickly said, Chief, young master, I'll take my leave first. Back then, Song Qingshu had left Tubo's Ningma Monastery through the Five Venoms order. She naturally knew what was going on. Little Phoenix, stay. Unexpectedly, Dongfang Muxue waved her hand and gestured for her to stay. Indigo Phoenix was dumbfounded. She thought that it would be awkward for her to stay in such a situation. Even Song Qingshu looked at Dongfang Muxue doubtfully. You're staying here to protect us. Secondly, Dongfang Muxue glanced at Song Qingshu. Her pale face had a tinge of redness. Don't be fooled by this bastard's gentlemanly appearance. He'll be a beast in bed later. I'm seriously injured and can't withstand his torment. You'll have to serve him on my behalf later. Although Dongfang Muxue had never been intimate with Song Qingshu, she had already found out many things from Chu Fian's mouth. Moreover, she had personally witnessed the scene of him riding Xiao Tong and Princess Jingnan's body. Although Dongfang Muxue had always been confident, with her current weak body, how could she withstand such pampering? Indigo Phoenix did not expect that Dongfang Muxue would ask her to stay for this. Her eyes reddened and she knelt down hurriedly. Chief, although the women of the Miao family are unrestrained in their behavior, they are loyal to one person. I'm already your woman. How can I serve someone else? She had witnessed Song Qingshu's celestial-like performance. Although she was willing to sleep with him for free, it was just a casual thought. She panicked when things really happened. Dongfang Muxue's face darkened. You're my woman, and I'm his woman now. Naturally, you're his woman too. He's a man that even I like. Do you think you'll be wronged? No, that's not what I meant. Indigo Phoenix stole a glance at Song Qingshu. Her milky white skin blushed. Prince Song is a celestial being. I'm the one who's not good enough for him. Isn't that right? Dongfang Muxue's face relaxed. You'll serve him on my behalf after he's healed me. But, Indigo Phoenix, who is usually bold and seductive, was as shy as a young lady. She stuttered and did not know how to reject. Dongfang Muxue's voice softened when she saw that Indigo Phoenix was about to cry. Little Phoenix, I'm a woman after all. I have to get married too. I can't give you a lifetime of happiness. I'm willing to do anything as long as I can stay by Master's side forever. Indigo Phoenix replied hurriedly. All right then. Dongfang Muxue pointed at Song Qingshu. From today onwards, he's your master too. You'll serve him the same way you've served me in the past. Since Master has asked me to do this, I'll do as you say. Indigo Phoenix's beautiful eyes were filled with tears as she sobbed. Song Qingshu was speechless. He could not help but say, Hey. The two of you have been talking for half a day. Have you considered my feelings? Dongfang Mushua chuckled. Do you have a problem with such a good thing? Song Qing-shu said seriously. I'm not a beast. Who was the one who peeked at my breasts but in the past? Dongfang Mushua's nonchalant question made the other two blush. Song Qing-shu was upset. I'm just appreciating beautiful things. It's not as dirty as you think. Dongfang Mushua wanted to say something, but she suddenly coughed violently. If you guys continue to waste time, I'm afraid I'll have to report to the King of Hell. Indigo Phoenix was shocked. She was so anxious that she sounded like she was about to cry. It's my fault. I'm willing to listen to Master's arrangements. Song Qing-shu did not have the time to care about Indigo Phoenix. He quickly pressed a few of Dongfang Mushua's Chiman acupoints. Shu'er, I'm going to start now. Dongfang Mushua had a weird look on her face when she heard the way he addressed her. Back then, everyone in the pugilistic world was terrified of me. I didn't expect to have such a weak title now. If you don't like it, I can change it to something else, Song Qing-shu said. Forget it. I'll go with this one. It's quite fresh. Dongfang Mushua's beautiful face revealed a faint smile. Song Qing-shu nodded and helped her to sit opposite him. He instructed, relax your body and mind later. Remember not to resist it. Let my vital energy control your body. You talk too much. Dongfang Mushua rolled her eyes at him. I'm already prepared. Are you coming or not? Song Qing-shu laughed bitterly. She was indeed the overlord of the pugilistic world. She was so tough, even at this stage. Chapter 1209. A faint blush appeared on Dongfang Mushua's skin. Although she was usually domineering, she was still a woman. She had never exposed her body in front of other men. Thinking about what was about to happen, her heart was filled with fear, but at the same time, she felt a little shy. To hide her emotions, Dongfang Mushua snorted. Don't you know how to untie my belt? I didn't bring a change of clothes with me. Song Qing stretched out his hand to lift her chin and said with a faint smile, You are the cult leader of the devil cult. Why do you suddenly care about a set of clothes? Are you very nervous now? Dongfang Mushua was hit where it hurt. She couldn't help but spit. I've slept with more women than you have. What's there to be nervous about? It's a pity that no matter how much you've played, you'll still be played by me. Song Qing kissed her on the neck. Dongfang Mushua turned her head away as a shiver ran down her delicate skin from the prickling of his beard. Indigo Phoenix's face was red. She seemed to be trying hard to hold back her laughter. Her master, who had always been like a queen, had finally met her nemesis. Indigo Phoenix, if you laugh again, I'll stab your eyes blind. Dongfang Mushua seemed to have sensed something. She turned around and glared at her. Dongfang Mushua was still intimidating. Indigo Phoenix's heart skipped a beat, and she quickly stopped laughing. Why are you scaring her? Do you think she's easy to bully? Song Qing said. Why? She hasn't even slept with you, and you're already feeling sorry for her? Dongfang Mushua sneered. You're like a porcupine with thorns all over your body. You're curled up to hide your soft and terrified heart. Song Qing smiled. Relax. Dongfang Mushua raised her eyebrows. Just as she was about to fly into a rage, Song Qing had already kissed her and forced her anger back into her mouth. Dongfang Mushua tried to push him away. Unfortunately, she was severely injured and had no strength left. She pushed him a few times, but it was more like an intimate caress. Their tongues intertwined, and Dongfang Mushua's body trembled. She felt an unprecedented feeling, as if her soul was trembling and her body gradually softened, no longer as stiff as before. After a long time, their lips parted and Dongfang Mushua's phoenix eyes became watery. She looked less dignified and more charming. Their faces were very close to each other. Song Qing said affectionately, You are so beautiful. Dongfang Mushua's arms were wrapped around his neck, and for the first time ever, she lowered her head with a bashful expression. Song Qing took out 2 Dragon Phoenix red candles and passed them to Indigo Phoenix. Little Phoenix, light these red candles. The Indigo Phoenix took it and laughed. Master, you are very thoughtful. Dongfang Mushua's eyes also revealed a hint of surprise. so you've already planned everything. Things happened in a hurry, so we can't hold the wedding ceremony first. We can only use these 2 red candles to represent our hearts. Song Qing smiled and said, "Today is our wedding night. I hope you don't mind that everything is too simple." Dongfang Muxue snorted. "What kind of person am I? How can I be like those ordinary people with all those unnecessary formalities? Using the sky as a blanket and the earth as a seat is only worthy of my identity." Song Qing complained in his heart. Using the sky as a blanket and the earth as a seat. Although it sounded very beautiful, wasn't it just having sex? Of course, he did not dare to say this out loud and offend the other party. Don't keep saying this seat. Next time, you have to address yourself as a concubine. Song Qing was also having a headache. Her tone always reminded him of Dongfang Booby. "Dream on." Dongfang Muxue raised her chin and snorted. The slight smile on her lips showed that she was in a good mood. "I'll wait until you beg for mercy." Song Qing was not in a hurry. His palm gradually slid down to her chest. He frowned and said, "In the future, don't use the chest strap when you dress as a man. It feels smaller than the first time." Dongfang Muxue glared at him fiercely. "If I knew that I would be played by you like this one day, I would have killed you the first time I saw you in the Forbidden City." Thinking of the scene in the Forbidden City where a man dressed as a woman and a woman dressed as a man attacked each other's breasts, she could not help but smile. "Thank you for not killing me, Mississippi." Song Qing felt a surge of warmth in his body as his palm felt her skin that was smoother than a baby's. He said in a hoarse voice, "I will transfer a few streams of joyful, vital energy into your body to completely prepare your body." "No need." Dongfang Muxue paused and blushed. "My body is already prepared." As she spoke, she pulled his hand into her dress. The wetness and warmth showed that her body was already extremely aroused. Song Qing did not hesitate anymore. He pressed her shoulders and moved closer. "No, I won't be on top." After the initial shyness, Dongfang Muxue regained her domineering personality. Song Qing naturally refused. Everything in the world, men are yang and women are yin. The universe is constant. How can the sun and the moon be reversed? I am in charge of 100,000 followers. Countless men grovel at my feet. Song Qing interrupted her. "I am your man now. What I say is the law." "Why?" Dongfang Muxue said angrily. "Because you can't beat me now." Song Qing answered matter-of-factly. Dongfang Muxue. Song Qing did not argue with her anymore. He pressed her down on the bed. The room instantly became quiet. Only the sound of rapid breathing and the burning of 2 festive red candles could be heard. The light from the fire shone on the body of the beauty beneath them. It was as if a layer of rose red had been smeared on the white jade, giving off a mesmerizing glow. Perhaps it was because she cultivated the sunflower manual and comprehended the principle of the heavens giving birth to all living things. Dongfang Muxue's skin was even more exquisite than that of many young girls. There did not seem to be a single pore on her body. It was as soft as a newborn baby's and as smooth as the best silk and suon. Her skin was ice-cold and extremely comfortable to the touch. Song Qing propped himself up and looked down at this incomparably arrogant woman. Her snow-white neck was as slender and exquisite as a swan's, with a hint of arrogance. Her shoulders were soft and supple. Her collarbone was exquisite and sexy. There was not a single trace of fat on her flat and tight abdomen. Her slender waist seemed to be too small for a person to hold. The gentle and beautiful curves of her waist bulged in an astonishing arc when it reached her breasts. It was a breathtaking visual impact. Her 2 intertwined legs were slender and straight. The hands that were covering them showed that her owner was not as calm as she appeared to be. Chapter 12:10. Song Qing bent down and kissed Dongfang Muxue's smooth forehead. His dry and hot lips slowly moved down, kissing her handsome eyebrows, long and enchanting phoenix eyes, and straight nose bridge. He then moved to the side and bit her translucent earlobe, blowing a breath of warm air into her ear. Heavenly Novel Dongfang Mushue was like a hedgehog that had curled up into a ball and was on guard. In the end, Song Qing-shu, the cunning fox, found her weak spot. After a few hot breaths, she could no longer curl up and revealed her softest body in front of the fox without reservation. Feeling that her breathing was getting heavier and that her swaying waist seemed to be expressing a silent invitation, Song Qing-shu naturally did not stand on ceremony. He lowered his body and pressed down on her. Indigo Phoenix, who was standing at the side, blushed. At the same time, she was even more shocked. The master who looked down on the world in the past was now under another man shyly. Her rosy skin showed that she was extremely aroused. Indigo Phoenix did not know why, but she suddenly felt a little lost. She vaguely felt that the master that she loved would never be able to return to how he was in the past. Noticing Dongfang Mushue's slight frown, Song Qing-shu stopped and asked, "Is it very painful?" "A little, but this level of pain is nothing compared to the injuries I suffer in the past. Just continue." Dongfang Mushue harumphed, and her voice was filled with a seductive charm that could seduce one's soul. "Why isn't there any blood?" Song Qing-shu asked curiously. Judging from Dongfang Mushue's body's reaction and the difficult feeling just now, it was obvious that she had never done it before. However, there was no blood at all. My body has already been ruined by myself. After all, who would have thought that there would be a day when I would be pressed down by a man?" Dongfang Mushue waved her long and slender fingers as she smiled proudly. Indigo Phoenix, who was standing at the side, blushed. She recalled that she had also broken her body with this finger. Noticing their expressions, Song Qing-shu suddenly realized that this was very much in line with Dongfang Mushue's character. It was no wonder that even though she had lost her virginity, it was still so difficult for her to enter. After all, how could her slender fingers compare to a real man? Song Qing-shu was a little depressed. He was actually robbed of the lead by a finger. He bit down on it and said, "That's what you get for fighting with me." Dongfang Mushue giggled as he bit her finger. "Don't mess around. It's ticklish. Hey, don't lick me." After the two of them fooled around for a while, Song Qing-shu remembered that the matter at hand was more important. He quickly used the yin and yang qi in his body to cleanse her meridians and marrow. Dongfang Mushue also completely relaxed her body and mind, welcoming the other party's essential qi into her body. After some time, Dongfang Mushue pushed away the man on top of her with a flushed face. The blissful Zen technique is indeed miraculous. My internal injuries have already healed. Song Qing-shu was extremely depressed. "Hey, I used up a lot of essential qi to heal you, but aren't you a little too quick to burn the bridge after crossing the river?" When he was healing Agio, he lost close to half of his inner force. However, Dongfang Mushue's cultivation was originally at the peak of the pugilistic world. Even though he used up a lot of inner force to heal her, her essential qi later replenished it. The two of them were in harmony with each other's yin and yang. In the end, he didn't lose much inner force. Instead, it became pure. What a top-grade cauldron. Looking at Dongfang Mushue's flawless body, Song Qing-shu was filled with emotions. He didn't know if it was because her cultivation had reached the realm of heavenly man transformation and all living things could grow, but the pure yin qi in her body was unbelievably thick. Such a physique could be said to be naturally seductive. Men wouldn't want to get off the bed the moment they touched her body. However, because her pure yin qi was too thick, even though it could let men experience unprecedented pleasure, it was also harmful to their bodies. Fortunately, Song Qing-shu had the blissful Zen technique. The pure yin qi was the best nourishment for him. If it was an ordinary man, he would probably fall seriously ill after just one night with her. If he was intimate with her frequently, his yang qi would probably be depleted in less than 3 months, and he would die young. Dongfang Mushue pulled the blanket over her body and smiled charmingly. "I've been injured for too long. I need to take this opportunity to consolidate my cultivation. Otherwise, I'll be letting you down today. As for burning the bridge after crossing the river, didn't I specially prepare a phoenix for you?" Song Qing-shu subconsciously glanced at the indigo phoenix. The indigo phoenix hurriedly lowered her head. Even the roots of her neck were red. Phoenix, serve my man well. Dongfang Mushiwei reached out and stuffed the indigo phoenix into Song Qing-shu's arms. Then she said to him, "Go ahead. Don't stand on ceremony. My woman is naturally your woman too." Song Qing-shu was dumbfounded as he hugged the soft and voluptuous body in his arms. What was going on? Meanwhile, Zhao Min followed Zhou Zhihua back to her own tent. After spending half a day, she finally understood what the healing method was. She couldn't help but be annoyed. There's actually such a shameless technique in this world. I wonder which pervert created it. Yes, this was the first time Zhou Zhihua realized how cute Zhao Min was. Zhao Min's words were exactly what she was thinking. That rascal with the surname Song listed so many flaws in the first method. It's obvious that he's up to no good. I'm so angry. Zhao Min sat on the bed and pouted as she sulked. Why are you angry? Zhou Zhihua asked plainly. Zhao Min rolled her eyes and moved closer to her. She giggled and said, Aren't you angry at all? Why should I be angry? Zhou Zhihua was actually a little uncomfortable. However, if she showed it, wouldn't she be fulfilling Zhao Min's wish? Since Zhao Min was angry, Zhou Zhihua naturally had to be different from her to show her magnanimity. Imagine that scene. Your husband is running wild with other coquettish bitches in front of you. He didn't even care about your feelings just now, Zhao Min said as she gestured with her hands. She looked like she had learned it well. Zhou Zhihua's eyelids twitched. In the end, she couldn't take it anymore. Shut up. Do you believe that I'll find a needle and sew your mouth up if you continue to talk? Zhao Min curled her lips. Tisk, you're still saying that you're not angry? Don't try to drive a wedge between us sisters. Zhou Zhihua snorted. Sisters? Zhao Min had a strange look on her face. If you were the kind of person who was willing to share your husband with another woman, you wouldn't have fought with me so fiercely back then. As soon as she said that, the two women remembered something from the past and couldn't help but fall silent. Are you still going to avenge Brother Wuji? Zhao Min suddenly asked. Zhou Zhihua pursed her lips and replied coldly. My husband is Song Qing-shu now. If you want to avenge Zhang, you can do it yourself. Women who have a change of heart are really heartless. Zhao Min curled her lips and said sarcastically. Zhou Zhihua sneered. Am I the only one who has a change of heart? Zhao Min opened her mouth to refute, but in the end, she didn't say anything. Many readers think that it's too troublesome to subscribe to the official website and often give me red packets in private. Let me be clear here. The monk will not accept red packets in private. If you want to support the monk, but it's really inconvenient to subscribe, you're welcome to tip the article on the monk's official account. Recently, the official account has been updated with many hand-drawn pictures of the female characters in the novel. Chapter 12:11. Who is that Lady Shui? You all seem to care about her. In order to dispel the awkwardness in her heart, Zhao Min changed the topic and asked, Her identity is special. How can I tell an outsider like you? Zhou Zhihua's words made her swallow her words. Zhao Min almost choked to death. With a snort, she sat far away and didn't speak to her again. On the other side, Jiu was holding Xia Qingqing's hand and recounting her roller coaster feelings. Qingqing, do you know that when I saw you all being drowned in the crowd, I was so scared that my heart almost jumped out of my chest. I was planning to commit suicide to accompany you all, but who knew that Big Brother Song would appear like a god descending to the mortal world? When I saw him step into the void step by step, I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. Who knew that it was actually true? Equals a captive cartoon of delicacies. Qingqing, do you think Big Brother Song had a fortuitous encounter this time? How did his martial arts improve to the next level? Jiu talked to himself excitedly until he finally realized that Xia Qingqing was only paying attention to him. He couldn't help but ask curiously, Qingqing, what's wrong? Nothing. Xia Qingqing seemed to suddenly wake up. She forced a smile and pretended to ask casually, Jiu, do you know the identity of that Meow girl? I think it's the leader of the Five Venoms sect, Indigo Phoenix. Lady Shui is truly capable. Even such a person is willing to be ordered around by her. Gio answered with a smile. Indigo Phoenix? Xia Qingqing's body swayed. She was also a person of the martial world, and naturally knew that the Five Venoms sect was a subordinate sect of the Sun Moon sect. Her guess was once again confirmed. What's wrong? I feel like your face is a bit pale. Gio finally noticed Xia Qingqing's abnormality. I'm not feeling well. I'll go back and rest first. After saying that, she ignored Gio's urging and grabbed the Golden Snake Battalion and walked out of the tent. Gio was startled. Then he smiled and shook his head. This Qing Qing is still as easily jealous as before. Back in the day, Xia Qingqing was famous for being jealous. She was jealous of herself and Jiao Wan'er. She had even indirectly caused Jiao Wan'er to marry Luo Liru. Although she had changed her personality in the past 2 years, Agio still remembered her from back then. So, her first reaction was that Agio was jealous because Song Qingshu had healed Dongfang Muxue. On the other side of the tent, Dongfang Muxue had already started to meditate. Only Song Qingshu and the Indigo Phoenix were left staring at each other. Song Qingshu was a little awkward too. He pushed the Indigo Phoenix away from his body. Cult leader Lan, why don't we have a chat? The Indigo Phoenix's heart was beating fast, and she was very nervous. When she heard what he said, she could not help but laugh. Mister, if I didn't know you, I would have thought you were an innocent little boy. But now you... The Indigo Phoenix lowered her head and looked at his crotch. She blushed and smiled. Don't you feel that it's against your conscience to say this? Song Qingshu was depressed. I'm just afraid that you will be put in a difficult position. The Indigo Phoenix glanced at Dongfang Muxue. Seeing that she was focused on meditating, she blushed and said, Don't worry, mister. Since my master asked me to serve you, I am willing to serve you. Song Qingshu smiled bitterly. But I still feel that this is too disrespectful to you. The Indigo Phoenix's eyes lit up. Her smile was obviously more natural than before. From today onwards, you are my master too. You don't have to respect me. Song Qingshu was already in a mess because of Dongfang Muxue. When he heard what she said, he could no longer hold back the fire in his stomach. He extended his hand and pulled her into his embrace. He felt her voluptuous body. He resisted the urge and said, I'll give you one last chance. As long as you shake your head, I won't touch you. I'll help you talk to Shui Er. The Indigo Phoenix smiled and regained her usual charm. She hooked her arms around his neck and kissed him. Song Qingshu's head exploded. He could no longer hold back. He hugged her waist and pulled her into his embrace. It was as if he was going to break her waist. His other hand started to get naughty. Just as he was about to reach into her clothes, he suddenly stopped. Don't tell me there's a snake or a scorpion in your arms. Although Song Qingshu was not afraid of poison with his current cultivation, it was still disappointing to touch a poisonous snake when the atmosphere was intense. The Indigo Phoenix had never kissed a man before. Although it was wonderful when Dongfang Muxue kissed her, the feeling that Song Qingshu gave her was completely different. It was an aggressive and masculine feeling. Unknowingly, her eyes were covered with a layer of mist. The Indigo Phoenix smiled charmingly when she heard Song Qingshu's question. Why don't you guess? Song Qingshu was stunned. Eventually, the passion in his heart won. I don't care. He reached into her clothes. It was soft and smooth. His heart skipped a beat. The Indigo Phoenix exclaimed and moved closer to his ear. She said in an alluring voice, You've drunk the 5 treasure nectar wine. I don't have those poisonous things on me now. Even if I do, you don't have to be afraid. Song Qingshu felt as if there was a lone wolf howling at the moon in his heart. He quickly pulled her belt off and took off her clothes. Just when he was about to get on top of her, he hesitated and asked, Do you want me to take a shower? He had just played with Dongfang Muxue. There were still many traces of her on his body. Because of Zhou Zhuo's cleanliness, he had always been mindful of such things. There's no need. Those are Master's things. The Indigo Phoenix pressed her head against his chest. That was all she said, but it was enough for Song Qingshu to understand. Song Qingshu didn't say anything else and kissed her directly. The indigo phoenix was at the most mature age of a woman. Her body was flexible enough to withstand anything. Song Qing-shu didn't have to worry about hurting Dongfang Muxue like before. He was only left with the most primitive impulse and reaction. The indigo phoenix used her voluptuous body to contain and neutralize the man's attacks. After some time, Song Qing-shu turned around thoughtfully and stared at Xia Qingqing, who walked in. He said in surprise, "Qingqing, why are you here too?" Xia Qingqing's pale face blushed slightly as she took a glance at the situation in the room. She secretly spat. "You're indeed the witch of the Sun-Moon God sect. How shameless." The indigo phoenix blushed. She didn't know how to respond at this moment. Song Qing-shu only thought that Xia Qingqing was jealous, so he smiled bitterly. Xia Qingqing didn't look at the two of them anymore. She walked straight to Dongfang Muxue. She bit her lips and stabbed her with the golden snake sword. Dongfang Muxue was at the critical moment of channeling. Moreover, she wasn't prepared at all. It was too late for her to react at such a close distance. Fortunately, Song Qing-shu noticed her abnormality and shot a gust of wind at her. With a clang, Xia Qingqing couldn't hold the golden snake sword anymore and dropped it on the ground. "Qingqing, what are you doing?" Song Qing-shu was shocked and angry at the same time. By this time, the charming and gentle atmosphere in the room had already disappeared completely. He hastily put on some clothes and ran over. At this moment, Dongfang Muxue also opened her eyes and looked at Xia Qingqing with a hint of murderous intent. Back then, she was the leader of the devil sect, and even the slightest mistake could lead to death, let alone an assassination attempt on her. "I know who you are." Xia Qingqing stared at Dongfang Muxue. She bit her lips so hard that they almost bled. What a good Lady Shui. The invincible Dongfang of the past has become Lady Shui. Haha, although she was laughing, the tears in her eyes showed that she was very emotional. Song Qing-shu was stunned. He finally understood why she wanted to kill Dongfang Muxue. He instantly felt a headache coming on. He was so worried about Dongfang Muxue's injuries that he forgot about this. She might have figured out Dongfang Muxue's identity from the clues. "That's right. I am invincible Dongfang. What are you going to do?" Dongfang Muxue was expressionless. An embroidery needle had already appeared in her hand. It was obvious that she was ready. Song Qing-shu hurriedly put his hand on her shoulder. "Let's talk this out. There is no hatred that cannot be resolved in this world." What a joke. Although Xia Qingqing's martial arts were good, Dongfang Muxue had already recovered to her peak. Killing her in a second would be a piece of cake. Yes, we cannot live under the same sky. Thinking of Yuan Qingji, who died young, Xia Qingqing gritted her teeth. Then, she suddenly thought of something. She turned around and glared at Song Qing-shu. "Did you know all along? Why had you been lying to me?" Song Qing-shu laughed bitterly. He did not know how to explain. In his original plan, he had planned to lie to her for the rest of her life. Who would have thought that the truth could not be concealed? "Xia Qingqing, why are you so angry? You should be thanking me." Dongfang Muxue snorted coldly. Xia Qingqing was so angry that she laughed. "You killed Big Brother Yuan, and you still want me to thank you?" Song Qing-shu broke out in cold sweat. Dongfang Muxue did not play by the rules at all. Of course. Dongfang Muxue straightened her clothes and stood up. "If it wasn't for me, how could you and Song Qing-shu be together? If I didn't kill Yuan Qingji, why would you come all the way to the Forbidden City to assassinate him? Why would you hide in Song Qing-shu's room? Speaking of which, I should be the matchmaker between the two of you. Shouldn't you be thanking me?" "Nonsense. I've known Big Brother Song for a long time." Xia Qingqing hurriedly explained. Oh, Dongfang Muxue smiled ambiguously. "But if I didn't play the villain as Madame Yuan, you wouldn't have the chance to be with Song Qing-shu. You're twisting words and forcing logic." Xia Qingqing's body trembled. She did not know how to refute her. Dongfang Muxue continued. "If I remember correctly, when we heard that Song Qing-shu was killed by Kangxi, we all ran to the palace to avenge him. Later, we learned that Song Qing-shu was safe and sound. What did you say?" Chapter 12:12. That was because I was worried that Brother Song would be in danger because of my revenge. Now that I'm doing it myself, I don't need his help. I'm not breaking my promise. Xia Qingqing picked up the golden snake sword and pointed it at Dongfang Muxue. Dongfang Muxue died. Dongfang Muxue looked at her with a faint smile. You're no match for me without Song Qingshu's help. Xia Qingqing's breathing quickened. She gritted her teeth and said, I'll just die. Miss Xia, there's something that I don't know if I should say. Indigo Phoenix walked over after tidying up her clothes. Just say it. Xia Qingqing never had a good impression of the women from Five Poison Sect, not to mention that she was Invincible E's subordinate. She had even shamelessly posed like that to seduce Song Qingshu, so it would be strange if she was polite. Indigo Phoenix did not mind. Her voice was still as charming as usual. Although you used to be Mrs. Yuan, you're Prince Song's woman now. Master is also Prince Song's woman. You're sisters, but you want to kill each other for another man. How embarrassing is that for Prince Song? Xia Qingqing was startled when she heard this. Yes, she was already Song Qingshu's woman, but all these years, she had always been thinking about her ex-husband. Fortunately, he was magnanimous. If it was any other man, he would probably have exploded. Even so, he probably had a grudge in his heart. Brother Song, I didn't mean it that way. Xia Qingqing tried to explain, but she did not know how to explain. Song Qingshu patted her shoulder and comforted her. Even though it's a little unpleasant from an ordinary man's point of view, I admire you more. I admire your sincerity, and I admire your unwavering devotion to love. If you think about it from another perspective, if I die in the future, you'll take revenge for me like this. My dissatisfaction would have disappeared. Xia Qingqing quickly pressed her hand on his lips. Brother Song, don't say such unlucky things. Dongfang Muxue sneered. The strong have good luck. With Brother Song's current cultivation, no one in the world can hurt him. He's not like that unlucky Yuan Qingji. What did you say? Xia Qingqing's eyebrows immediately rose as she glared at her. This Jianghu has always been a place where the strong prey on the weak. How many people have died in Yuan Qingji's hands? He could kill others, but others couldn't kill him. If he dies on Mount Tai, he can only blame himself for being inferior. Dongfang Muxue said coldly. Song Qingshu immediately felt a headache coming on. The atmosphere had clearly turned for the better just now, but she had suddenly said all this. Wasn't she purposely provoking Xia Qingqing and adding fuel to the fire? I'm going to kill you. Xia Qingqing could no longer hold back. She swatted away Song Qingshu's hand and stabbed toward Dongfang Muxue. Dongfang Muxue dodged in a flash and appeared behind Xia Qingqing, aiming for the back of her head. Xia Qingqing's feet moved, and she dodged at a mysterious angle. Dongfang Muxue's attack missed, and she couldn't help but exclaim softly, Not bad. Looks like little Brat Song has been working hard on you. After saying that, she glanced at Song Qingshu with a faint smile. She naturally knew that Song Qingshu's delightful Zen technique could not only improve his own skills, but it was also very beneficial to women. Song Qingshu was having a headache. These two women were fighting like chickens and dogs, and he really didn't know how to resolve this enmity. Shut up. Xia Qingqing wished that there was a hole in the ground to hide in, and she waved her golden snake sword even more frantically. Dongfang Muxue leisurely dodged her attacks while looking for an opening. Although the technique of interchangeability is magical, even Feng Qingyang and Yuan Qingji couldn't avoid me when they used it. Do you think a girl like you can? Hearing her words, Xia Qingqing's heart skipped a beat, and her movements slowed down slightly. However, this opening was enough for Dongfang Muxue to take advantage of. In a flash, she was within 3 feet of Xia Qingqing, and her palm struck towards Xia Qingqing's chest. Xia Qingqing couldn't breathe even before the palm reached her. She knew that she couldn't close her eyes anymore, and she turned around to look at Song Qingshu one last time. However, Song Qingshu was no longer in the same spot. Xia Qingqing's heart was filled with regret. Could it be that she wouldn't even be able to see him one last time before she died? She closed her eyes in resignation, but after waiting for a long time, Dongfang Mushue's palm still didn't land on her. She couldn't help but open her eyes in confusion. She saw Song Qingshu standing in front of her, and Dongfang Mushue's palm was pressed against his chest. A trace of blood seeped out from the corner of Song Qingshu's mouth, and he smiled bitterly. "Dear, you're playing for real." Dongfang Mushue's palm contained a terrifying power. Fortunately, he was strong, or else Xia Qingqing would have died on the spot if it had landed on her. Seeing that Song Qingshu was injured, Xia Qingqing was both shocked and angry. Without thinking, she stabbed her sword toward Dongfang Mushue. Perhaps it was because Dongfang Mushue was shocked that she had injured Song Qingshu, or something else, but she stood there like a fool, not dodging the sword that was inches away from her. Just as the tip of the sword was about to pierce into Dongfang Mushue's chest, Song Qingshu reached out in a hurry and grabbed the golden snake sword, stopping it by a hair's breadth. No matter how strong Song Qingshu's martial arts were, he was still made of flesh and blood, and the golden snake sword was a famous divine weapon in the martial world. Soon, blood flowed down from his palm along the blade. "Big Brother Song!" Xia Qingqing exclaimed, hurriedly throwing away the golden snake sword to check his wound. Seeing that his palm was dripping with blood, she sobbed, "I didn't mean to hurt you. I'm sorry. It's okay. It's just a superficial wound." With a thought, Song Qingshu sealed a few acupoints near the wound with his true qi, and the bleeding stopped quickly. At the same time, he wondered if he had used up all his luck during the day on the battlefield. When they entered the bridal chamber at night, they didn't bleed, but he was the one who bled. "I'll go find some gauze to bandage your wound." Xia Qingqing hurriedly ran to a nearby cabinet and rummaged through it. Only then did Song Qingshu quietly ask Dongfang Mushue, "Are you crazy? If I didn't stop you just now, Xia Qingqing would have been killed by your palm." Who knew that Dongfang Mushue had no sense of guilt? "If I didn't use this trick, how could I resolve this hatred?" It turned out that she had predicted that Song Qingshu would definitely come to her rescue, so she purposely used 70 to 80% of her strength to injure him to divert Xia Qingqing's attention. Song Qingshu thought for a while and roughly understood her intention. "But why didn't you dodge after that?" "To test my worth in your heart." Dongfang Mushue smiled sweetly. "Otherwise, I won't be able to think straight if I only see you risking your life for her." Song Qingshu was speechless. "If I was just a little slower, would you have just watched as the golden snake sword pierced your chest?" You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.